We're shipping up to Boston. The series tied 1-1 following the Sabres lost. Head coach Lindy Ruff did speak with the media. No official lineup changes. Ruff did say, though, Noah Ostlund is a possibility for today. You'll be able to find that on demand at WGR550.com in case you missed it. And this weekend, you can join Brian Koziel and Owen Parker live this Sunday from 11 to 2 at Hamburg Tap Room for pregame coverage for Game 4 and more. Presented by Neutral Vodka Seltzer. Keep it tasty this playoff season. Results from last night in the playoffs. The Flyers beat the Penguins 5-2. The Stars beat the Wild in double overtime 4-3. And the Ducks beat the Oilers handily 6-4. In the NFL, Cowboys Executive Vice President Stephen Jones confirmed that wide receiver George Pickens will play on the franchise tag this year and that there won't be any talks for a long-term deal. Pickens does still need to sign the tag. And it's draft day as round 1 gets underway in Pittsburgh at 8 p.m., but coverage will begin at 7. And with Game 3 also being today, Nate Geary, Derek Kramer, and Zach Jones, they'll be covering the draft over on News Radio 930 WBEN. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Joe Cali for Western New York's Voice of the Fans, WGR.
Oh, hey everybody. Anything going on today?
Nothing. No, just a
quiet
night.
Let me check the Major League Baseball schedule. No shot at Major League Baseball. Are the Yankees wearing their new uniforms tonight? That got approved.
It did, yeah, but they're not going to have anything within 24 hours, are
No, they already know what they're wearing.
They know what they're wearing?
They're wearing their batting practice color jerseys or something. They're wearing the stuff they already have.
Wow. Okay.
The players went to management and said, we want a third jersey, and they're going to do it. They're going to wear an alternate jersey. They're going to wear the Navy. The Yankees are.
Navy. The Navy Yankees jersey?
Yeah. It really does sound like a...
Are Yankees fans really mad about this?
Some are, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It sounds like a George Costanza Seinfeld line where they're like, you know what? How about you guys wear Navy? And they're going to do it.
Yeah.
Their first alternate road uniform looks like it's going to happen.
They wore cotton in Seinfeld. Does that count as an alternate jersey?
Yeah, right.
Instead of polyester, and then they shrunk. What a show!
What a show! All right, draft. The Sabres. Start with the draft.
We could. I mean, I read a lot about certain prospects last night that I.
You're just like binging.
Yeah, a little bit. Like there are guys that I'm thinking a little bit differently about today than I might have been. Like Makai Lemon is one of them. I don't think he's near falling to the Bills. Right?
No.
But read John Ledyard yesterday on Makai Lemon, who, like, his summary was, I think this guy who's getting compared a ton to Amon-Ra St. Brown is way more Khalil Shakir than he is Amon-Ra St. Brown. And I'm like, nope, out on that. Don't need another one of those. Not that, again, he's not really in range for the Bills, it sounds like.
Okay.
But
fair.
Certain things like that along the way.
I like Ian Hartitz's comparisons where it's just like, who's the one I'm thinking of here?
Was he the one who had like a rocket-fueled Hot Wheels car?
Yeah.
Or?
That was
was that someone else?
That was Mina Kimes' comp for Casey Concepcion. Is that he's a Hot Wheels car out of one of those Bammers,
right?
Which they called it something else. And else we call those Hot Wheels things Bammers.
Okay.
I don't know what they're actually called, which makes it tough when I'm trying to find new ones online and I'm searching Bammers.
Yeah.
And the internet's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
It's the thing you hit to the Hot Wheels car shoots out of it.
Anyway. By the way, when I say like Ledyard compared Lemon to Shakir, like the reason I wouldn't like this is because they already have one of those. And I don't know how many people agree with that. Like he broke down that like whenever this dude played a physical corner on the outside, he got erased in games. Like really physical corners.
Lemon.
And he's going to be one of these guys where a coach says for 3 years that he can play on the outside, but he never really does. And that just like all that was just sounding so much like Shakir to me that it's like I don't need another one of those if I'm the Bills.
Yeah.
That's my only trepidation about any receiver idea. Just is there a concern the guy might only be slot? Because we've dealt with so much of that with their receiving group the last couple of years. But there also isn't much of that. Like if you're talking receivers tonight for the Bills, there aren't many guys that are in range for them at 26 where I feel like that's a concern.
Yeah.
Right? Like Jordan Tyson, who's also probably not going to fall outside, and so is Casey Concepcion.
You have some people saying Concepcion is a slot, but a lot of people say he is not.
But he's had a ton of success against everybody when he does go outside.
Yes, that's right.
Right. And Denzel Boston is outside. Like all the other ideas are pretty much guys that would play on the perimeter.
Is Keon Coleman on this team tomorrow? You and I have a bet.
No, we have a bet.
If he's on the team on Monday.
We have a bet.
So receiver, defensive end, defensive tackle. I had a thought today pulling into the plaza here into the building, which is, everybody loves trading down. And just imagine, you wake up, you're a GM in the NFL today, you wake up, and your first thought is, if I trade down, everyone will say I'm smart. That's it. That's all you have to do. You trade down, you get credit. No matter what. Almost no matter what.
Didn't they do it 2 years ago and not as many people were saying that's smart?
Everybody says it's smart. They didn't get great value.
And they traded with the Chiefs.
Right.
There was a combination of you didn't get nearly anything.
That was
you
the
traded
big part
up from
of it.
round 4 to round 3, and you dealt with your number one rival.
Right.
Like that's the scenario where you're not getting a ton of, oh, wow, look at the Bills. Sharp.
That was the story. The story was trading down, and the Chiefs was the team that you traded down with in the Keon Coleman trade. And I drove in today thinking about that trade. Not even because of the Chiefs, but because when you get to the draft, everybody thinks more is better. And I understand why. There's a lot of randomness to the draft. What did that trade down produce? It produced Keon Coleman and Dwayne Carter. Mm-hmm. How's that gone? I traded down. I didn't have any difference between these receivers, so I took this one, and I moved up, and I got a better pick, and I took what? A guy that doesn't play either.
Right.
I traded down, I got two pieces that don't really play. What if instead of that they had traded up and gotten Brian Thomas Jr.? It would have been maybe panned, oh, wow, you gave away a fourth-round pick, or who knows? Like, that was a year where they went in, and they didn't have a third-round pick, and a lot of the conversation was that the GM wanted to get a third-round pick back. And I don't think that is a very good process to go into a draft saying, I don't have a third. I should like to get a third back. Mm-hmm. What is it about? Is it about just as many picks as possible? It could be. For some of you out there, it could be about that. Or is it about difference makers? I feel like what I want are difference makers for this team. And, that can be a defensive end. That can be Casey Concepcion. I've got my wide receiver train shirt on today. When I saw that in the closet, I thought it's wide receiver train polo.
We do have wide receiver train hats we're going to have to wear tonight.
Yes.
I'm going to have to remember to wear that.
I've got that hat.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not about to be devastated or shocked if they don't take one. There have been years where it's been much more obvious and much more glaring. That's for sure. There have been years where they entered without a DJ Moore. Like last year, they entered the draft with Josh Palmer was their addition and then didn't add. And we thought, how could you do that? So I don't exactly think it's likely, but plenty of these teams and plenty of the conversation about that position as we, maybe dig into it, maybe more focused today than the last couple of weeks because of the Sabres. One of the reasons that the big conversation about receiver happened with Bean was because I asked him if he valued the position on par with his peers. And part of what put me over the edge on that was when the Bucs took Emeka Egbuka. Like, this team is flush, and they took Egbuka. And when the Packers take Matthew Golden, like, wait a minute, I thought they already had a bunch of guys, and they take a first-round guy. It's because Dan Morgan, GM of the Panthers, he's taken receivers in each of the last first rounds, the last 2 years, and he said, we wouldn't not do it again. We might do it again. Now, we'll see if they do. Maybe they take Casey Concepcion. The Panthers do. I've seen them mock there. Anyway, it's a premium position. I don't have any idea what's happening with Keon Coleman. Josh Palmer will be gone in one more year. Like you are soon going to have it. If you don't do it early here, you can do it in the 3rd round or the 4th round, and we will see you back here next year to decide if it's worth a conversation again.
Yeah.
But I feel like sometimes, Joe, I'm a guy in a lighthouse by myself warning against trading down. I think trading down is a little bit of an intellectual trap. Everybody says you should do it all the time. Everybody says it's always smart. You get all the credit on draft day, and then everyone moves along. And, how did you do in the draft? Well, if you took Keon Coleman and Dwayne Carter, you didn't do too well.
Right.
If you had traded up, you might have been panned for giving up too much. But if you came away with, Brian Thomas Jr., who is maybe not great, but whatever, he's done a lot more.
Yeah.
You might feel a lot better about your draft. So this GM has traded up. He has traded back. I don't expect to get really
He very rarely stays.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
He very rarely stays at the pick that he's at. So, what would the odds be that they make the 26th pick tonight? Are they less than 50-50?
It's a great question.
I feel like he's drafted at his slotted pick less than half the time.
Everybody wants to give them a trade down with Arizona to go to 34. The good news for our draft party is if they do that, we'll have watched an entire Sabres game. So It's not going to be another draft party where we hang out for 3 hours and then they trade out of the first round.
What is listen, the Sabres could really set the mood, though, for tonight. If it doesn't go well,
they're getting ragdolled 5-0, and then the Bills trade out.
Yeah, Bills got a little bit of pressure to make a pick that people like for our draft party. And if they win like 4-1 tonight in Boston to take a 2-1 series lead, the Bills could do anything. And I feel like the people at our draft party are going to be like, all right, fine, yep, all right. Yeah, corner, okay. They draft D'Angelo Pons, the 5'9" corner from Indiana. Like, I can see it. He could play in the slot, too.
I mean, that guy seemed to be psychic on the field. He read every play.
Pons?
So, yeah.
I kind of like him. I just don't know that he fits here. But, yeah, I feel like the Sabres will set the mood for tonight. You said you won't lose sleep because the position isn't as much of a need this year, but is there a guy that you would lose sleep if he's there and they didn't take him?
Casey Concepcion.
Would it just be Concepcion?
I would lose sleep, yeah. Everybody.
I mean, there are a lot of mock drafts I'm still seeing where he is still there at 26.
Yeah. I told
you a couple yesterday.
Yesterday, Mel Kiper has him as wide receiver 9.
Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows? It is definitely some of a crapshoot, but that's the thing about craps, right? If you want to play craps, it's a crapshoot. But there are odds. And there are smarter plays in craps than others. There are some plays that are more likely to hit than others. Yes, there is randomness. It is not spin a wheel to find out if your player was good. You got red flags here and green lights here. Anyway, we'll get some of your phone calls. On the Sabres, on the Bills, on draft day, you can go ahead and just tell us what you want. Sal has his latest mock draft up at WGR550.com, his final one, where the Bills take Caden McDonald, defensive tackle, Ohio State, who is a high school teammate of Jordan Hancock, and of course was at Ohio State with Jordan Hancock, so saw him talking about that yesterday. Would make total sense for the Bills to add more along their defensive front. They have not done a ton there for a unit we completely thought would be overhauled this year in the Jim Leonard defense. So Sal has Caden McDonald going 26th overall to the Bills. And Concepcion was off the board 2 picks earlier. In fact, stop me if you've heard this one before. Sal's mock draft that he just posted has wide receivers going 22, 23, 24, and the Bills picked 26th.
Sounds like a couple years ago.
Sounds like the JSN year.
Yeah.
Yep. 803-0550 to join us. We'll get your calls in, and if you want to, jump in on the Sabres, it's a pretty big game tonight.
There's some lineup decisions, I think, for tonight.
I think
that
there
Lindy's got to make.
We'll have to pick through what Lindy Ruff had to say, if you think he's going to make the goalie change, if you think Noah Oslin's going to be ready, and what kind of response they'll have tonight in Boston. We'll start with Mike in Connecticut on this draft day and Sabres game day. Mike, good morning.
Good morning, guys. I just wanted to get your opinion on something. So, been doing a little more draft research, the last couple of weeks, and then, I obviously understand the emphasis from people all around the NFL and people just in the Bills community of finding a premier position, but I think I'm more open to the idea, and obviously Casey Concepcion, there are certain guys that would be a dream pick that we would love to have, but looking at the draft history of the Bills, say the last 3 or 4 years, Keon Coleman, I'm not including Max Harrison yet just because I feel like the sample size is too small. Keon Coleman, Dalton Kincaid, Kyer Elam. 2 out of those 3 being premium positions. If the guy that we don't all want is there, say it's Concepcion, I think I'm open to the Bills taking the second best guard or linebacker if it just means he gets on the field and plays all the time and he's on the field, because I think we've had a disappointment of first-round picks over the last few years, and I think we just need a guy who comes in and plays day one and, sometimes just does his job like Osiris Torrance. Like, maybe not the most sexy player to get. It's not the wide receiver who goes for 1,200 yards if, he's not the guy that we want. The guy we want is not on the board anymore. I just want a guy who comes in and plays. I don't want a guy not playing because, this 9-year veteran came in and he knows the Jim Leonard system, or this 6th-round pick beat him out. Like, no, I want our first-round pick to start day one.
Let me give you, Mike, let me ask you a specific name, because when you say all that, I think there's a guy that kind of fits that. You want their next Rousseau pick at whatever position, right? Like, he came in and he plays and he's pretty good. Like, not a superstar, but pretty good. And if that's guard or linebacker and they make their Rousseau pick, a duplicate of that in terms of ability and production would be a baseline.
Yeah, and I saw a lot last night on Jacob Rodriguez and his odds to go in the first round are improving, and saw like the Bills in Carolina are doing some of their homework. It's just like, obviously it's so tough to predict how these players are going to turn out down the road one day, but if you find that stud linebacker and you have them for 8-10 years, like, I don't care if it's not a premium position, because we have premium positions. Kyer Elam for a 5th-round pick. Boogie Basham, 2nd-round pick, for a 6th-round pick. Like, Cody Ford, we've just had picks that you need to hit on, and we haven't hit. So I don't care if it's not a top-of-the-market priority. You want to get it cost-controlled. Obviously, I want the receiver that we get cost-controlled. You're not paying $40 million a year for the next 5 years, but I just want a guy who starts.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Well, I think this is a very, very great point to bring up, because there are, not 100, but there are 15 different strategies you could employ. And one of the ones we talk about a lot is positional value, premium positions, and I'm one that's all about that. And I will agree, like what Mike is basically laying out there, Joe, I think is you can do that to a fault. Like, you swing at this position because it's a premium position and you miss. And otherwise, you might have taken a guard who would have played for you for 5 years, 10 years. The counterpoint to that is, and I'll say, you mentioned guard and you mentioned linebacker. On guard, the Bills have had almost no visits with offensive linemen. The top 30 visits, if you go positionally, one offensive tackle, he's a 4th-round projection. If you go pre-draft interactions, it's the same guy. And you just can't find linemen on their visits, on their Zoom calls, on really anything that they've done. I'm sure they met with some at the Combine. I'll try and find the Combine visitor list. They did almost, I'm not saying they didn't do work on linemen. I know that they did. But extra info on linemen, it's not even there. It's receivers, it's defensive ends, defensive tackles, linebackers, safeties, even some corners, and a punter. There's not a lot of work done extra on the lineman from what we know.
Yeah, is Austin Barber the 4th-round guy?
He's the one.
Yeah, they did a Zoom call with him. He's the only one I see, too.
He also had a top 30 visit.
Yeah.
So that they just don't have a lot of evidence about line being something they're chasing.
Right.
And on linebacker, and I lost this tweet to the internet, whatever, in the last month. Linebacker would be a great fit for the Bills. They certainly could use someone, and if it's Jacob Rodriguez, that is a guy that could come in and play and make a difference. In terms of premium position and that point, there's a strange thing that happens, and it is that position does not re-sign with the team that drafted it. You go with an off-ball linebacker, that guy does not re-sign. Around the league, the best ones you've ever heard of, none of them are drafted by the team that they're with. For some reason, whether it's the market, this is Tremaine Edmonds, this is a lot. You can get that guy for 5 years, and it's unlikely he re-signs with the team that drafted him, because that's a position the teams tend to go for in free agency. And whatever, if they take that guy, he could be great, and he could re-sign. But there's these little trends, and if you want to know all the trends and follow all these, and like I said, you could get lost in the weeds and lose the plot.
Yeah.
But those are two positions that I think, sure, they could go for, but there'd be a case against.
There are also levels to it, and the Bills would not be on the extreme level of this conversation this year because, like, linebackers and guards, Like, there would be a spot. If they drafted, you might not think it's a need because they have Austin Corbett and they have Alec Anderson, but those are guys on one-year deals for not much money. If they drafted a first-round guard, like, that guy is going to be projected to start. Maybe not right away, but eventually. And if they draft...
And that's maybe replacing Torrance if they don't want to pay him.
Right.
Or, going left guard.
If they drafted a linebacker, totally can, envision, a path for that guy to play right away.
Is he beating out Terrell Bernard? Is he beating out whoever? Right.
Those positions are not premium positions, but they also are above running back and tight end.
Right.
The highest paid guards, the guard market's gone up the last couple of years, right? How many guys are making over $20 million now? It's a few. Whereas there are no tight ends that make over $20 million, I don't believe. And running back, it's just McCaffrey. So those positions are on the extreme of it, but the Bills are already buttoned up there. Like James Cook, Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, they're not on the radar at all. Linebacker and guard are, I feel like, somewhere more in the middle because it's not as premium as edge rusher or receiver or corner even, but it is above those bottom of the barrel positional value spots. So that's to me where it's like, okay, I could, if I had a big enough need, replace it. How much did David Edwards cost the Saints? Not star edge rusher money, but it wasn't nothing. Yeah. It wasn't really cheap. It's not bottom of the barrel. So I could listen to it, but I do think if you're going through how much value that position has, you're going to get left with, I'd like to end up with something different if I could.
David Edwards.
The guy would have to be a real solid, okay, I know this guy's going to be a guy. The caller brought up Osiris Torrance. Would you take their first-round pick being Osiris Torrance?
No. No.
Do I just get 4 more years of Osiris Torrance on a rookie contract at guard? Is that worth the 26th pick?
No. Sure, no. It's not. It's you're talking floors here.
Right.
And how much of the floor versus ceiling is an illusion? If we think we know about certain players, well, this guy is definitely going to be ready to go and grow in this spot, and he's just going to be a floor guy. At worst, he'll play. Even that's wrong sometimes. That's wrong sometimes. That's true. So I guess, what are you trying to do? In the first round of the draft, when you're drafting 26th overall, how are you going to try to get somebody that's going to be part of the difference makers that get you through the proverbial wall? What's going to get you through the proverbial wall? A bunch of guys that are floor guys or somebody that's a ceiling guy?
Right.
And
this team especially, it should be ceiling guys.
Right. I want to get a top 10 guy at his position. That's what I'm hoping to get in the first round if I'm the Bills. And even if they miss, like they've been swinging, the whole Josh Allen floor that is built in, Josh Allen's floor should allow me to feel like, all right, we're fine. If this doesn't hit the right way, we'll be fine. We can sustain. But a guard in the first round would just to me be a big mistake. They don't have a need. And to not have a second round pick, and people think this about receiver as well, and I wouldn't even dispute. The difference would be if I want a top 20 guard, I can pay for one. That's David Edwards, right? Top 20 guard. What's he cost? $15 million a year. 4-year deal, $15 million. I want a top 20 receiver. What's that cost? 30? Like 32? Right. So 803-0550 our number. We'll get Paul in Akron here. Paul, good morning.
Hey, good morning, guys. I just wanted to say, trading up and trading down, it depends on what the player does after they're traded, and nobody knows, or after they're playing for your team, and nobody knows that. The Chiefs traded with us and got Patrick Mahomes. Now, everybody thinks, oh, that was a great trade up. Right. And then you could trade up and the player flops, and then you don't look good. And so, just like you guys said, it's a crapshoot, and you really won't know until that player. Tom Brady, 5th round pick. Who would have thought to trade up for him? I know he was the biggest cheater in the league, but he was a great quarterback. It's a crapshoot, just like you guys say. But more kicks at the can, like Jeremy always said, is better. So at 26, I don't think that we're going to get a great first-round pick. So maybe it would be better trading back. I know a lot of people don't want to do that, but you guys said yesterday, I think there's 13 or 14 first-round grades that all the GMs say. Well, that doesn't lead us to number 26. So that's what I wanted to say. I don't know what you guys think about that. You guys have a good morning. Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. I always just think to only have 14 first-round grades means that these GMs are wrong. There will be more than 14 first-round picks, and there will certainly be 14 players that produce on a level. Or I shouldn't say wrong. They don't know, and maybe they admit that they don't know. And are more kicks at the can better? Yeah, sure. But there's diminishing returns with that. You can only roster so many players. How many spots will the Bills have? 7? They have 7 rookie spots available. How many rookies will make this team?
Maybe this year is a little more open for that. Most years it's not been 7.
It might be more open, but if you draft a bunch of defensive linemen, like Dwayne Carter and Landon Jackson are on the chopping block, are they not? Like, there are diminishing returns.
Right.
This was one of my problems with last year's draft, where I was fine with them addressing the defense primarily, but you had so many bodies in along your front 7, they can't all play. And
and figuring out who's good in just training camp. Like that's you want to talk about a crapshoot, right? Like, because that's often been their late round picks. It's, well, I've got the 6th and 7th and the 8 can't all make the team, and okay, I've got August to figure out if they're good and worthy of it.
Yep.
How good are you going to be at that?
And
because it's not even real football, right, that you're asking to evaluate whether this guy's going to be a good player or not.
And I'm a contender. I'm not a growing team that's really out here to let guys, and maybe this changes with Joe Brady, let guys grow through struggle.
Right.
I'm trying to win, be a 1 seed, and if you can't set the edge, well, then you're not going to play for me on my defensive line. 803-0550. Lots and lots to get to. We'll see where tonight goes. We'll have the draft. We'll have the Sabres game 3, Sabres and Bruins. A lot of chatter about watch parties. You got plans? Come hang with us. We're going to be at Brightsmith Brewing tonight. Go to brightsmithbrewing.com. That's Brightsmith, B-R-I-T-E, Brightsmith Brewing. And right at the front page, WGR Draft Party with Jeremy and Joe. It's on Niagara Street. You get a lot of stuff when you come with this. Lots of great food. We're going to go stuff our faces, and I will walk every calorie off pacing during this Game 3. That's my plan. My heart rate will be elevated. I'll burn 10 pounds despite all the food.
We set up a bunch of treadmills for everybody.
We should.
Like a pacing station.
Detroit-style pizza, brisket carving station, pulled pork, mac and cheese, sliders, wings, a 50-50, a DJ, a raffle for a Josh jersey. Yeah, lots going on. So come on out. We'll be at Brightsmith Brewing. Watch the game. Watch the draft. Hang with us. Joe Callie, Owen will be there. You guys can make fun of them for their opinion on the chicken wing noise meter. I mean,
yeah.
Owen throws his hands up. 803-0550.
It was going the other night.
It was, and it was loud. It was loud.
It was very loud. Although that was the point. It was insanely loud, and it was only at mild. Because they weren't used to it getting that loud that quickly. More evidence in our favor.
A full 30 for 30 on the chicken wing noise meter. 803-0550. Joe Marino, Locked On Bills podcast at 7. We bumped him from yesterday to today. Sal at 8:30. We'll check in with Paul. All the Sabres news, all the Bills news. Big day today. We're ready for you here on WGR. I had a thought today pulling into the plaza here, into the building, which is, everybody loves trading down. And just imagine, you wake up, you're a GM in the NFL today, you wake up, and your first thought is, if I trade down, everyone will say I'm smart. That's it. That's all you have to do. You trade down, you get credit. No matter what. Almost no matter what.
Didn't they do it 2 years ago and not many people? Well, not as many people were saying that's smart.
Everybody says it's smart. They didn't get great value.
And they traded with the Chiefs.
Right.
There was a combination of you didn't get nearly anything.
That was
you
the big
traded up
part
from
of it.
round 4 to round 3, and you dealt with your number 1 rival.
Right.
That's the scenario where you're not getting a ton of, oh, wow, look at the Bills. Sharp.
That was the story. The story was trading down, and the Chiefs was the team that you traded down with the Keon Coleman trade. And I drove in today thinking about that trade. Not even because of the Chiefs, but because when you get to the draft, everybody thinks more is better. And I understand why. There's a lot of randomness to the draft. What did that trade down produce? It produced Keon Coleman and Dwayne Carter. How's that gone? I traded down. I didn't have any difference between these receivers, so I took this one, and I moved up, and I got a better pick, and I took what? A guy that doesn't play either.
Right.
I traded down, I got 2 pieces that don't really play. What if instead of that they had traded up and gotten Brian Thomas Jr.? It would have been maybe panned. Oh, wow, you gave away a 4th-round pick, or who knows? Like, that was a year where they went in and they didn't have a 3rd-round pick, and a lot of the conversation was that the GM wanted to get a 3rd-round pick back. And I don't think that is a very good process to go into a draft saying, I don't have a 3rd. I should like to get a 3rd back. What is it about? Is it about just as many picks as possible? It could be. For some of you out there, it could be about that. Or is it about difference makers? I feel like what I want are difference makers for this team. And, that can be a defensive end. That can be Casey Concepcion. I've got my wide receiver train shirt on today. When I saw that in the closet, I thought like, oh, yeah, it's wide receiver train polo.
We do have wide receiver train hats we're going to have to wear tonight.
Yes.
I'm going to have to remember to wear that.
Well, I think this is a very, very great point to bring up because there are, not 100, but there are 15 different strategies you could employ. And one of the ones we talk about a lot is positional value, premium positions, and I'm one that's all about that. And I will agree, like what Mike is basically laying out there, Joe, I think is you can do that to a fault. Like you swing at this position because it's a premium position and you miss. And otherwise, you might have taken a guard who would have played for you for 5 years, 10 years. The counterpoint to that is, and I'll say you mentioned guard and you mentioned linebacker. On guard, the Bills have had almost no visits with offensive linemen. The top 30 visits, if you go positionally, one offensive tackle, he's a 4th-round projection. If you go pre-draft interactions, it's the same guy. And you just can't find linemen on their visits, on their Zoom calls, on really anything that they've done. I'm sure they met with some at the Combine. I'll try and find the Combine visitor list. They did almost, I'm not saying they didn't do work on linemen. I know that they did. But extra info on linemen, it's not even there. It's receivers, it's defensive ends, defensive tackles, linebackers, safeties, even some corners, and a punter. There's not a lot of work done extra on the lineman from what we know.
Yeah, is Austin Barber the 4th-round guy?
He's the one.
Yeah, they did a
guy.
Zoom call with him. He's the only one I see, too.
He also had a top 30 visit.
Yeah.
So that they just don't have a lot of evidence about line being something they're chasing.
Right.
And on linebacker, and I lost this tweet to the internet, whatever, in the last month. Linebacker would be a great fit for the Bills. They certainly could use someone, and if it's Jacob Rodriguez, that is a guy that could come in and play and make a difference. In terms of premium position and that point, there's a strange thing that happens, and it is that position does not re-sign with the team that drafted it. You go with an off-ball linebacker, that guy does not re-sign. Around the league, the best ones you've ever heard of, none of them are drafted by the team that they're with. For some reason, whether it's the market, this is Tremaine Edmonds, this is a lot. You can get that guy for 5 years, and it's unlikely he re-signs with the team that drafted him because that's a position the teams tend to go for in free agency. And whatever, if they take that guy, he could be great, and he could re-sign. But there's these little trends, and if you want to know all the trends and follow all these, and like I said, you could get lost in the weeds and lose the plot.
Yeah.
But those are two positions that I think, sure, they could go for, but there'd be a case against.
They're also...
We're shipping up to Boston. The series tied 1-1 following the Sabres' loss Tuesday night. Head coach Lindy Ruff spoke with the media yesterday. No official lineup changes, but Ruff did say Noah Ostlund is a possibility for today. You can find that on demand at WGR550.com in case you missed it. Join WGR Sal Capaccio at Brightsmith Brewing on Niagara Street in downtown Buffalo this Sunday for Game 4 of the Buffalo Hockey Playoffs. Buffalo versus Boston. Puck drops at 2 p.m. Watch every hit, every goal with tons of screens. Enjoy $5 drafts, half off select appetizers, $5 slap shots when the Sabres score. DJ Brando will also be there, so grab your crew and let's go Buffalo. See you at Brightsmith Brewing this Sunday on Niagara Street. Results from last night in the playoffs. The Flyers beat the Penguins 5-2. The Stars beat the Wild in double overtime 4-3. And the Ducks beat the Oilers 6-4. Cowboys Executive Vice President Stephen Jones confirmed that wide receiver George Pickens will play on the franchise tag this year and that there won't be talks for a long-term deal. Pickens does still need to sign the tag, and it's draft day as round 1 will get underway in Pittsburgh at 8 p.m. but coverage will begin at 7 p.m., with Game 3 also being tonight. Nate Geary, Derek Kramer, and Zach Jones will cover the draft on News Radio 930 WBEN. Join us in the fight against cancer by riding with the WGR Ride for Roswell team on Saturday, June 27th. When you sign up, you'll get a rider gift from WGR and Tom's Pro Bike on Walden Avenue in Lancaster. Plus, at the event, stop by our table and scan the QR code for a chance to win a $1,000 gift card to Tom's Pro Bike. Visit WGR550.com for all the details. Those are your Paddock Chevrolet sports headlines. Paddock Chevrolet, with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Joe Cali for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
We're multitasking today. Good morning, Jeremy and Joe. And I want to thank Alesh Kodalik's Burner. That's the Twitter account that sent this in to me. This will be our stat of the day. If the Sabres' last 30 power play chances were a full 60-minute game, they would lose 2-0.
Because they've
Scored 0, and they've given up 2 shorties. One to
given up
Ryan
2
Green of Chicago and one to Tom Wilson of Washington. They've been outscored 2-0 on their last 30 power plays.
Yikes.
Sounds bad.
Really can't be worse.
It could be 3-0.
Okay, sure, right. They could have given up more shorthanded goals.
Yeah. Well, hey, good morning, everybody. Little eye-opener for you.
So whenever you hear someone say, can't we just decline the penalty, and often that's an exaggeration, like in the last 30 power plays, it actually would have been beneficial.
Yeah. I don't want to decline it. I want to accept a matching minor. Delayed penalty coming up on Boston, and here's, pick a guy. Timmins is going to get one, too. Like, he goes down, or just, as soon as there's a delayed penalty, throw an extra guy on the ice for a too many men. Now you're playing 4-on-4.
Right.
No bad ideas.
Could I say, hey, instead of, well, we don't want the power play, can we just put someone in the box for them that can't play? Can we just have Pasternak not play for 2 minutes? That's it. Like, we don't need the man advantage. We just don't want him on the ice.
Yeah.
That's it. Can we do that?
Maybe Arvidsson in this case.
Arvidsson.
803-0550.
They are not going to lose. They're not going to let a 5'9" guy beat them in the series, are they?
So far they are. Does he have 3 goals or just 2?
Just the 2,
Okay.
I think, in the last game. Should either of them go in?
Maybe not.
The second one, I guess, isn't terrible. It's a 2-on-1 where the goalie is the shooter. We'd probably like a save, but it's not egregious.
Yeah.
The first one we talked about yesterday, the backhand, like, I'd like a save there. So I don't know. He's also getting rolled in this series, like, physically. He's doing fine. He's getting back up and he's getting chances. But I feel like every time there's any bit of contact, he's just getting. Samuelson wrecked him in the first game, and there was a moment where I think Stanley got him last game.
Well, this is where we need Zach Benson to do that too, right?
Right. He's popping back up and taking hits, but I need some offense.
Yep.
Yeah.
803-0550, 1-888-552-550. If we're trying to pick through what Lindy Ruff had to say yesterday, and you were at practice yesterday, you had a chance to, see things, and you were there when Lindy spoke. What is your vibe on who gets the call in net tonight?
They canceled practice, so there was no skate, but Lyon did skate himself, which I found interesting, and he spoke after Lindy, Stanley, and Norris all spoke. Lindy obviously didn't tip his hand at all.
He did talk about the rotation and how that did serve them throughout the season.
Yep.
And then when asked who's going to start, he says, I don't talk about starting goals.
Yeah,
I
I'm
never have.
not going to talk about that.
Yeah.
So that's not surprising at all. I said yesterday, I thought even if they did practice, I thought they would rotate all 3 goalies so that nobody had any clue. But I left yesterday thinking it was more possible that Lyon starts tonight than I did yesterday morning.
More possible.
I think he might go tonight. The way Lindy spoke about the rotation, the way Lyon spoke about the rotation, and about staying ready, and sort of even just the fact that we talked to him maybe was interesting. So I think you might see Alex Lyon in net tonight, which to me feels interesting because why did you give Luukkonen that runway before Lyon got hurt then? If it was all it was gonna take was this really one game. I mean, the first game was fine. He looked a little shaky, but he performed well and got a win. Made some huge saves, and then he had really a bad period. And like that's the end of his leash. I find that a little surprising based on how they handled the whole thing at the end of the season.
How much? But go ahead. I was gonna say, how much do we know that they would have done that all the way to the end if Lyon hadn't got hurt? They were already doing it,
Right,
but could Lyon have worked his way? Because Lyon would have got another start.
Yeah.
So, like, if Lyon had the Colton Ellis shutout, like, and then maybe even played well against Dallas, like, would this feel any different? Like, to me, at the end of the day, like, I know how the season ended, but this guy, and Luukkonen did too, no doubt. I mean, I think in terms of points, Luukkonen actually got them like 2 more points on the season, on their record. But this guy got you here. With Luukkonen, he got you here. He had a great record. He had great numbers. He came in as a veteran and stabilized the position midway through the year when Luukkonen had just come back from injury and we didn't know where he was going to be at. Like, Lyon, to me, earned it throughout the year to say, yeah, 2 bad starts at the end of the regular season does not take you out of the equation for the playoffs because you had a great 36-game season.
Yeah. I want to push back on 1 bad period. How about the third? Does that count? I mean,
right.
Would that have been a bad period?
That's totally fair.
Also, the first period in Game 1 would have been a bad period if Morgan Geekie had looked at the net.
But
right?
Yeah, it's hard to.
He was all over the place in that period.
I don't necessarily want to do.
Giving up only 1 goal in that period was a miracle for him.
Right, and the other part of it is about like the timing of it. This is the same conversation as like, well, the Sabres have only been leading in the series for 3 minutes. Like, well, yes. That's true. If the Sabres score the first goal tonight and then Boston dominates them for 48 minutes and scores to tie, were the Sabres like the better team for the game? No. And that's what game 1 was to me. Like I've got, if I want to go expected goals or fancy stats, like Swayman has faced 7 expected goals per money puck and Luukkonen is at 4.5. Like I'm not getting... Right. It's almost like we got to do the playoff standard as opposed to the regular standard. And this is to me where, like, this is where the Bills get in trouble. Like, hey, our offense scored 30 points per game in the regular season. Like, well, congratulations. It's a new season now. And you are now one of 16 starting goaltenders. In fact, the number is 17 on the board at Money Puck because Lyon's on there too.
Right.
So you're 16th out of 16. Whether that happened in 1 period or a period and 1 shot, like 16th out of 16 is where I got to just get to, like, he goes back in, he goes back in.
Yeah.
But I wonder 2 things. I wonder, of course, who Lindy goes with tonight. And then I wonder if they lose and how they lose will matter. Will Lindy's tone change at all? I still find the way he talked about game 2 to be interesting, odd, different than what he normally would be. It was such a soft hand about that loss, a game in which it didn't look like they played very well really at all. Well, the urgency was not there, and he's like, oh, they got a little lucky, and, it happens. I just thought, or I think I should say, that if the same game happened again, I'd want him to be sounding a little more upset about it.
I think you want to be careful not to assume what he said to the media is what he said to the players.
Oh, I wouldn't assume that it's the exact same, but I guess the players just don't want that to be public. He doesn't have to
He doesn't need it to be public because he knows this is sort of the fan base is doesn't know how this all goes right now.
That's right.
We're all the sky is falling.
We're
after
reacquainting ourselves.
Or game 2. Mm-hmm. And so I think there's a little bit of it that's like, all right, let me just cool this off.
Yeah.
We won 1 game that we should have won. We lost 1 game we should have lost. The series is where the series should be. Nobody deserves anything more or less than they've got right now. So I'm not going to get out here and tear my players up in front of the media after they lose their first playoff game. Let me have the talk with them and tell them why they weren't good enough tonight, which, that's his job. That is what he does. So there's no way he didn't do that. So I think the message in the media is more about sort of trying to control the narrative a little bit. Mm-hmm. And that's a veteran coach understanding he's got a young team that's doing this for the first time. And so that's why I didn't have much of a problem with or even really think much at all about how he sounded after game 2. I just thought it was, I'm going to do this thing because I think it's right to take probably a little bit of pressure off my guys because they are probably feeling it. They just lost their first playoff game. They probably feel horrible right now, and they don't need to feel any worse than they do. So let me not pour gasoline on that fire and let them, take what I tell them in the room and go with that, and I'll get out here and we'll deal with it.
Totally fair, yeah. 803-0550. We'll get a call in on the other side. Also, when we get back, Jay Glazer is teasing a big thing for tonight. We'll tell you what he had to say and get to Joe Marino, the Locked On Bills podcast, 7 o'clock. Maybe final mocks, final ideas, short list of names at 26. Jeremy and Joe on WGR. I think this is a very, very a great point to bring up because there are, not 100, but there are 15 different strategies you could employ. And one of the ones we talk about a lot is positional value, premium positions, and I'm one that's all about that, and I will agree. Like what Mike is basically laying out there, Joe, I think is you can do that to a fault. Like you swing at this position because it's a premium position and you miss, and otherwise you might have taken a guard who would have played for you for 5 years, 10 years. The counterpoint to that is, and I'll say you mentioned guard and you mentioned linebacker. On guard, the Bills have had almost no visits with offensive linemen. The top 30 visits, if you go positionally, one offensive tackle, he's a 4th-round projection. If you go pre-draft interactions, it's the same guy. And you just can't find linemen on their visits, on their Zoom calls, on really anything that they've done. I'm sure they met with some at the Combine. I'll try and find the Combine visitor list. They did almost, I'm not saying they didn't do work on linemen. I know that they did. But extra info on linemen, it's not even there. It's receivers, it's defensive ends, defensive tackles, linebackers, safeties, even some corners, and a punter. There's not a lot of work done extra on the lineman from what we know.
Yeah, is Austin Barber the 4th-round guy?
He's the one.
Yeah, they did a
guy.
Zoom call with him. He's the only one I see, too.
He also had a top 30 visit.
Yeah.
So that they just don't have a lot of evidence about line being something they're chasing.
Right.
And on linebacker, and I lost this tweet to the internet, whatever, in the last month. Linebacker would be a great fit for the Bills. They certainly could use someone, and if it's Jacob Rodriguez, that is a guy that could come in and play and make a difference. In terms of premium position and that point, there's a strange thing that happens, and it is that position does not re-sign with the team that drafted it. You go with an off-ball linebacker, that guy does not re-sign. Around the league, the best ones you've ever heard of, none of them are drafted by the team that they're with. For some reason, whether it's the market, this is Tremaine Edmonds. This is a lot. You can get that guy for 5 years, and it's unlikely he re-signs with the team that drafted him because that's a position the teams tend to go for in free agency. And whatever, if they take that guy, he could be great, and he could re-sign. But there's these little trends, and if you want to know all the trends and follow all these, and like I said, you could get lost in the weeds and lose the plot.
Yeah.
But those are two positions that I think, sure, they could go for, but there'd be, a case against.
There are also levels to it, and the Bills would not be on the extreme level of this conversation this year because, like, linebackers and guards, like, there would be a spot. If they drafted, you might not think it's a need because they have Austin Corbett and they have Alec Anderson, but those are guys on one-year deals for not much money. If they drafted a first-round guard, like, that guy is going to be projected to start. Maybe not right away, but eventually.
I had a thought today pulling into the plaza here, into the building, which is, everybody loves trading down. And just imagine, you wake up, you're a GM in the NFL today, you wake up, and your first thought is, if I trade down, everyone will say I'm smart. That's it. That's all you have to do. You trade down, you get credit. No matter what. Almost no matter what.
Didn't they do it 2 years ago and not as many people were saying that's smart?
Everybody says it's smart. They didn't get great value.
And they traded with the Chiefs.
Right.
There was a combination of you didn't get nearly anything.
That was the big part of it.
You traded up from round 4 to round 3, and you dealt with your number 1 rival.
Right.
That's the scenario where you're not getting a ton of, oh, wow, look at the Bills, sharp.
That was the story. The story was trading down, and the Chiefs was the team that you traded down with in the Keon Coleman trade. And I drove in today thinking about that trade. Not even because of the Chiefs, but because When you get to the draft, everybody thinks more is better. And I understand why. There's a lot of randomness to the draft. What did that trade down produce? It produced Keon Coleman and Dwayne Carter.
Mm-hmm.
How's that gone? I traded down. I didn't have any difference between these receivers, so I took this one. And I moved up, and I got a better pick. And I took what? A guy that doesn't play either.
Right.
I traded down, I got two pieces that don't really play. What if instead of that they had traded up and gotten Brian Thomas Jr.? It would have been maybe panned. Oh, wow, you gave away a 4th-round pick, or who knows? Like, that was a year where they went in and they didn't have a 3rd-round pick, and a lot of the conversation was that the GM wanted to get a 3rd-round pick back. And I don't think that is a very good process to go into a draft saying, I don't have a 3rd. I should like to get a 3rd back. What is it about? Is it about just as many picks as possible? It could be. For some of you out there, it could be about that.
The juiciest bone that you're chewing on right now, that you're hearing, a rumor that just won't die?
No, I know something that's going on. I just can't say it yet. 'Cause I was told you can't say it. Told, we're kind of getting on the clock there.
Jay Glazer. I know
So why-
something that's going on. I just can't say it.
So why even say that?
I was told you can't say it until we're kind of getting on the clock there.
You've really given us nothing at the end of the day. Like,
Joe,
hey, well, I know something. Like, who cares?
Something's,
How does that help me?
Something's going on.
It's the draft. I'm sure there is.
I would also like
Sure,
to,
there are 10,000 things that are going on right now.
I'd like to report something else that's going to happen this draft, but I can't yet. I know of another trade.
Just the worst. Yearly reminder. Do yourself a favor. Just stay off Twitter if you want to. Well, actually, you know what?
We're going to be at the draft party, so what are we going to do?
This year might be different. It's always like a huge pet peeve of mine. If I'm around someone that I'm watching the draft, I'm watching the show, and 4 minutes before the pick, you're telling me via tweet, well, this pick's going to be blank. Well, what am I watching the show for? But this year, there might be a value in that because I'm going to be watching the Sabres game.
True.
At least as you approach like the 20s. You would hope the Sabres game is over like 5, 6, 7 picks before the Bills pick.
Part of the problem is with the whole pick tipping and Twitter is it'll say the pick is in. And then I've got Mel Kiper and somebody talking for 4 more minutes before they tell me what the pick is. And I'm supposed to think that Twitter's the problem?
Well, I mean, they're doing a show. They're trying to have a show here. You want Goodell to break into a commercial break to tell us that the Jaguars drafted a tackle? What do you want?
Yes, I do want that. It's a diet version of when I watch NBC and there's a gold medal game on. If it's delayed, like I know the NFL draft, it's delayed like a minute or 3. And in other time zones for the Olympics, it's delayed like 12 hours. Mm-hmm. But you're just delaying for the television show. If I want the info, I'm going to get the info. And I don't begrudge anybody that wants that info immediately, and also people that want to just brick your phone, turn it off.
So would you be okay if someone just reported all the Oscars winners before the Oscars?
No.
Like what's the limits here? Because sometimes there is a show designed to reveal something, and if you are going to reveal that beforehand, you've just kind of ruined it for everybody.
The difference in that is that Oscars winners are winning an award versus this tight end has gone 12th overall.
Like if I have a gender reveal party and Jeremy shows up and goes, that's a boy. Like, oh, great, thanks.
That's
I don't invite this guy for.
That's frowned upon.
Yeah.
Joe Marino, Lockdown Bills podcast.
You can just stay off Twitter like I do and not deal with any of it.
I'm going to be on Twitter right next to you, this watch party.
That's the thing. During the Sabres game, there's no way I'm staying off Twitter. So.
Well, it might also be like, I say to you, the pick is in for the Jets. It's going to be so. You're like, what? I'm trying to watch the power play.
Right.
Then I might
need a distraction.
Then you can take 2 minutes off. All right, they're scoring a power play goal tonight. Let's speak it into existence, everybody. We're going to see a power play goal tonight. And then we're going to make shirts. I saw the power play goal. Tonight's the night. Tonight's the night. If we all just say it, it'll happen.
Yeah.
803-0550, Joe Marino, Lockdown Bills podcast when we return. On the draft, his final mock draft for the Bills. Big day today. Thanks for joining us. Come to our draft party at Brightsmith tonight. I had a thought today pulling into the plaza here, into the building, which is, everybody loves trading down. And just imagine, you wake up, you're a GM in the NFL today, you wake up, and your first thought is, if I trade down, everyone will say I'm smart. That's it. That's all you have to do. You trade down, you get credit. No matter what. Almost no matter what.
Didn't they do it 2 years ago and not many people, well, not as many people were saying that's smart?
Everybody says it's smart. They didn't get great value.
And they traded with the Chiefs.
Right.
There was a combination of you didn't get nearly anything.
That was
you
the big
traded up
part
from
of it.
round 4 to round 3, and you dealt with your number one rival.
Right.
That's the scenario where you're not getting a ton of, oh, wow, look at the Bills, sharp.
That was the story. The story was trading down, and the Chiefs was the team that you traded down with in the Keon Coleman trade. And I drove in today thinking about that trade. Not even because of the Chiefs, but because when you get to the draft, everybody thinks more is better. And I understand why. There's a lot of randomness to the draft. What did that trade down produce? It produced Keon Coleman and Dwayne Carter.
Mm-hmm.
How's that gone? I traded down. I didn't have any difference between these receivers, so I took this one, and I moved up, and I got a better pick, and I took what? A guy that doesn't play either.
Right.
I traded down, I got 2 pieces that don't really play. What if instead of that they had traded up and gotten Brian Thomas Jr.? It would have been maybe panned, oh, wow, you gave away a 4th-round pick, or who knows? Like, that was a year where they went in, and they didn't have a 3rd-round pick, and a lot of the conversation was that the GM wanted to get a 3rd-round pick back. And I don't think that is a very good process to go into a draft saying, I don't have a 3rd. I should like to get a 3rd back. What is it about? Is it about just as many picks as possible? It could be. For some of you out there, it could be about that. Or is it about difference makers? I feel like what I want are difference makers for this team. And, that can be a defensive end. That can be Casey Concepcion. I've got my wide receiver train shirt on today. When I saw that in the closet, I thought it's wide receiver train polo.
We do have wide receiver train hats we're going to have to wear tonight.
Yes.
I'm going to have to remember to wear that.
I wonder 2 things. I wonder, of course, who Lindy goes with tonight. And then I wonder if they lose and how they lose will matter. Will Lindy's tone change at all? I still find the way he talked about game 2 to be interesting, odd, different than what he normally would be. It was such a soft hand about that loss, a game in which it didn't look like they played very well really at all. Well, the urgency was not there, and he's like, oh, they got a little lucky, and, it happens. I just thought, or I think I should say, that if the same game happened again, I'd want him to be sounding a little more upset about it.
I think you want to be careful not to assume what he said to the media is what he said to the players.
Oh, I wouldn't assume that it's the exact same, but I guess the players just don't want that to be public. He doesn't have to go.
He doesn't need it to be public because he knows this is sort of the fan base is doesn't know how this all goes right now.
That's right.
We're all the sky is falling.
We're
after
reacquainting ourselves.
Or game 2. And so I think there's a little bit of it that's like, all right, let me just cool this off.
Yeah.
We won one game that we should have won. We lost one game we should have lost. The series is where the series should be. Nobody deserves anything more or less than they've got right now. So I'm not going to get out here and tear my players up in front of the media after they lose their first playoff game. Let me have the talk with them and tell them why they weren't good enough tonight, which, that's his job. That is what he does. So there's no way he didn't do that. So I think the message in the media is more about sort of trying to control the narrative a little bit. And that's a veteran coach understanding he's got a young team that's doing this for the first time. And so that's why I didn't have much of a problem with or even really think much at all about how he sounded after game 2. I just thought it was, I'm going to do this thing because I think it's right to take probably a little bit of pressure off my guys because they are probably feeling it. They just lost their first playoff game. They probably feel horrible right now. And they don't need to feel any worse than they do. So let me not pour gasoline on that fire and let them, take what I tell them in the room and go with that. And I'll get out.
We're shipping up to Boston. The series tied 1-1 following the Sabres' loss on Tuesday. Head coach Lindy Ruff spoke with the media yesterday. No official lineup changes. Ruff did say, though, Noah Ostlund is a possibility for tonight. You can find that on demand in case you missed it at WGR550.com. Join Brian Koziel and Owen Parker live this Sunday from 11 to 2 at Hamburg Taproom for pregame coverage of Game 4 and more, presented by Neutral Vodka Seltzer. Keep it tasty this playoff season. Some more results from the playoffs last night. The Flyers beat the Penguins 5-2. Stars beat the Wild in double overtime 4-3. And the Ducks beat the Oilers 6-4. Around the NFL, Cowboys Executive Vice President Stephen Jones confirmed that wide receiver George Pickens will play on the franchise tag this year and that there won't be talks for a long-term deal. Pickens does still need to sign the tag, and it's draft day, as round 1 will get underway in Pittsburgh at 8 p.m., but coverage will begin at 7 with us. Game 3 also being tonight. Nate Geary, Derek Kramer, and Zach Jones will be covering the draft over on News Radio 930 WBEN. Again, that's at 7. Every mile tells a story. Help us celebrate those who make the Ride for Roswell a success. Whether you ride, volunteer, or donate, you are making a difference. Share your story of why you take part in the Ride for Roswell and tag RFR 2026 for a chance to be featured. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet, with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Joe Cali for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
I would say this. It's hard for me to know because, and I would say this about anyone who's never done the job before, with all due respect to Joe in this case, it's a different job. And we can prepare all you want, having gone through it myself, but it's a different job than any job that leads to that job. Yeah. And so Joe is a very talented coach. He's a very talented play caller. And listen, what I saw in Joe in the 4 seasons I think he was with us, he's going to do a good job. And I'm looking forward to watching him. And, I think he knows, and I hope he knows, that I'm always here if he needs anything.
Former Bills head coach Sean McDermott doing some media rounds in an interview a couple days back. Now, Rich Eisen show, the insiders. And Rich Eisen flat out asked him if he's going to coach next year, if he wants to. He says yes, he still loves to coach and would love to coach. And also, you might see him in the media this year, that he has some things maybe lined up for this year, so might see Bills head coach Sean McDermott in the media.
Yeah. He was good. He also refused to get into a story about the Bills trading up for Josh Allen, and I think we already know the story of it. Like, he wouldn't say who the team was that they had to deal with to move up to get Allen that fell apart, but I think we know that's Denver.
Denver, yeah, because Bradley Chubb was there.
Yeah, I thought so, or unless they were referring to something different, but yeah, he was good. He sounds definitely like he's going to coach next year, and that he didn't want to rush into what was available to him.
I don't know.
He might have just been able to have the Cardinals job if he wanted, but why? Why not just wait a year?
Very late in the cycle for him to try to get in there, but Clint Kubiak did, of course, too. Joining us on the Western Hotline is Joe Marino of the Locked On Bills podcast. Find everything he does at thejoemarino.com. Of course, we've got a Sabres game. We've got the draft tonight. Joe, the number one question on everyone's mind, of course, is do you have any answers for the Sabres power play?
Oh, man. How frustrating is that? It's such an advantage to have an extra player and to just
in
never.
Theory, you would think. In theory.
I'm not I don't know the X's and O's of hockey, if you will, but I feel like if you have one more player, you should probably score with some level of regularity when you get the extra. And it's deflating because you feel like this is prime opportunity to get a goal or, build a lead or cut into a deficit. It's like, well, that was a waste of 2 minutes.
Yeah. Should football have
power plays?
What would you rather have? You get the choice. A 15-yard penalty, you can run a play with them only having 10 men on the field.
Joe, I don't think you're ready for a lot of my hockey takes because I've been developing them over the last year or so. I think it's an unfair punishment. It's an unfair punishment to commit these fouls and then to be without a player for 2 minutes. It's crazy. If it was 10 on 11, it would be a massive disadvantage. We're talking about 5 on 4. Oh my goodness, yeah, it's too severe. It's an unreasonable punishment.
Hey, in soccer, you get a red card, and it's like it's a 50-minute power play.
You're down a man for the game, yeah.
Yeah, but there's more
insane.
People there.
Yeah,
we're going to talk some draft here. I wanted to bring you a question from Benjamin Solak. He's got a contest he runs. He calls it the First Round Challenge. I think it's super interesting, and for this year, it might be maybe tougher than years past, but I'll get your thought on this and get Sneaky Joe's as well. The concept is you get to pick anywhere from 1 to 32 the first rounders they don't have to be in order. They don't have to be the right teams. How many players would you confidently say are going in the first round?
I love this from Ben every year, who's a good friend of mine. I'd like to think I can push for the upper teens.
Okay.
But I'd stop short of saying I can go much past 20.
Do you think it's different this year than years past? Is it tougher? Because a lot of the reporting on this year's draft class, and I think Brandon Beane said something to this effect too. I don't know the exact phrasing he used, but the idea that there's going to be a lot of different opinions on the receivers, on the edges, on the tackles, that maybe you have a more unpredictable first round than years past.
I agree with that to an extent. I think it's the back part of those position groups where they're kind of deep, whether that's either receiver or O-line or even some of the edge rushers, where it's the last couple that'll be subjective. But I think what actually makes this a little bit more easy to predict through the lens of Ben's little project that he does every year is that the cream of the crop really does separate itself this year. And so I think that allows you to get that defined group. And then from there, I think, those last few, I think, are a little bit more difficult to predict.
Yeah. How do you feel about the GM telling Peter Schrager it was about a week ago now, throw out positional value this year, kind of because of, I guess, the way the draft sets up? Does the board and the way that this draft is being talked about, does that make sense to you? Throw out positional value this year compared to past years, or do you feel like that's always a bad idea?
I think it's worth talking about. I think the premium is always the good players, right? So look at that Lions draft haul that they had a few years ago. They got Jahmyr Gibbs, Shaq Campbell, and Brian Branch. Does anyone have anything to say about that?
Right. Those are three running back, linebacker, safety, three positions you'd be told to stay away from.
Right.
Right. They absolutely crushed those selections. And so the premium is always the good players. I just look at this draft, and I think you can make an argument that the best players are non-premium positions. I think Sonny Styles is the best player in the draft. He's a linebacker. I think the second best player is Vega Ioane, who's a guard from Penn State. Jeremiah Love, a running back from Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. Caleb Downs, a safety from Ohio State. And so those guys, I think, are probably the four best prospects, but those are probably your four lowest value positions. Well, there are good edge rushers and quarterbacks and tackles and receivers, but I don't know that they're the typical, oh my goodness, a top 5 draft pick at edge rusher, supposed to be Myles Garrett or Nick Bosa, not David Bailey or Reuben Bain. A top 5 pick at quarterback supposed to be, Joe Burrow or Caleb Williams, not Fernando Mendoza. Even a receiver. I love Carnell Tate, but he's not A.J. Green. That's kind of where it's at. So I think you have those discrepancies, and you start to think, well, maybe I'm just getting a better player, and that matters more than the positional premium.
Yeah, you went through some of the guys at the top of the draft there. One guy you did not mention is Arvell Reese, who is off-ball linebacker and edge rusher at Ohio State. What is your opinion on him, Joe? Because I've heard a lot of back and forth on what he'll end up being in the NFL. Are we talking about a Micah Parsons level player, something different? Is he even going to, I guess, what do you see from him when he gets to the NFL? Because he could be the Jets pick, right, at 2.
Yeah, it's a good chance for that. I'll start by saying this. I think that Micah Parsons has opened the door for a lot of players like this to have some attention that they normally wouldn't get. Because Micah Parsons was a thing at, in the 240-pound range with shorter arms, but this hybrid stack backer, edge rusher with crazy athleticism, it's going to open the door for a guy like Arvell Reese. And I really like Reese and the idea of him, and the ceiling is incredibly high. He's super dynamic in terms of athleticism. And for a guy that's really never trained as a pass rusher, which he's admitted, it's pretty exciting to think about what he's been able to get done. And then, everything else is just teachable, right? I can't teach you to be explosive, but the pass rush moves and softening edges and those types of things we can teach you. And there's a lot to work with here. I'd be lying if I didn't say that there's a part of me that's concerned, because he doesn't do anything at an overly high level. He's just this dynamic athlete that they couldn't deal with at Penn State or at Ohio State. And so, I think there's some buyer beware, but the ceiling here is incredibly high. And I think the Micah Parsons role that has become a thing in the NFL, and how creative these fronts are becoming, it gives him a good shot to be a really high impact player. But I think there's a really low floor as well to be mindful of with Arvel Reese.
Joe Marino on the Western Hotline. I want to ask you a question, your thoughts on the trade down idea. I've been thinking about this obviously a lot. And, you've pointed to last year the Giants traded from 34 to 25, and they also sent number 99 and a future third. So it ends up being a pretty big price that they pay to move up those 9 spots to get Jackson Dart. And if Arizona wants to come in, a lot of people, Joe, are forecasting this. Arizona comes into the first round trying to get Ty Simpson, and the Bills could be a target to trade out. I think a lot of teams in the Bills area could be a target to trade out. The thing I want to ask you about, and I wonder about, is how much we should think about the value chart and how much we should really think about precedent with these prices, because I'm inclined to think that the price really comes down to, do I have two teams that want this pick? Because if I only have one, right, let's say somebody calls the Bills, and on the value chart, it doesn't look great, but the Bills think, well, this is the best offer coming in. We're sliding down 10 spots. We're not adding that much more. Like, the value chart year to year to me would seem to be something that should move around a bit based on the draft class. And if everybody wants to move down, to me, that would be a buyer's market where you should be able to get up for cheaper.
I think you're right about that, Jeremy, and I think we should probably get our expectations in the right place for what a trade looks like with Arizona. I'm guessing they have pick 65. So does 34 and 65, does that get it done for 26? The math on that is, let's see, 560. You got to make up me doing math on the fly is not good. 140 points.
Yeah, I'll find it.
So if they get 65, that would actually be plus value for the Bills.
Yeah, way big. That's yeah.
Yeah, so you're not getting, because Arizona picks at 65 and not 99. That's a big deal. Now, whatever the quarterback tax, it could be a situation where it's more like 104 is the pick that you'd get back. You get 104 and 143 or something like that for them, or 65 is clean work, or maybe you get 65 and you have to give back something to offset the math a little bit. But if they get 65, I'd be intrigued with that, and I think you have to look at it through the lens of pairings. So right now the Bills can stick and pick whoever at 26. Maybe that's Christian Miller, the D tackle out of Georgia. Would you rather trade back to 34 and get Gabe Akis, the edge rusher from Illinois, and then at 65 you're now in position to get Josiah Trotter, the linebacker out of Missouri, or just sit there and pick Christian Miller? I think there's got to be players you don't trade away from. For me, that's obviously Casey Concepcion out of Texas A&M. But, I like a lot of players at 26, but I think the idea of getting a player at 34 and 65 is more appealing to me than just what you would get at 26. So
right.
I think that's kind of the sweet spot of this draft. I think it's that second, third, fourth round range. And right now the Bills are only picking, 91 and then 128. So I'd give myself more chances to be right.
Well, this is a point we made back with the Coleman trade and the Worthy trade, and I want to do it here too. Like, if you drop from 26 to 34, there's only 8 spots. Maybe there's 10 players you like. Maybe there's 7 players you like. To me, the biggest thing about dropping 8 spots is that you give up control of the board. Now somebody can jump in front of you if you're kind of gambling to go down a bit. So, Joe, let me give me the short list. Give me 5 names, 4 names, 5 names. You can pick the number where they're on the board at 26, and it's not worth dropping down 8 spots. You mentioned Concepcion. You've been on Caden McDonald, defensive tackle, Ohio State. Is he still on that list? How about a 5-name list of guys that, if they're there, you're just going to say stick and pick?
If I'm being realistic, Jeremy, it's probably just Casey Concepcion. It really is. Like, I would love to stick and pick Christian Miller. I'd be happy with Caden McDonald. I'd be happy with Malachi Lawrence. But I'd be more happy with the combination of players I can get at 34 and 65. Or, whatever it winds up being, 34 and 104 plus something. That's what it comes down to. So my do not trade away from realistic players. Like, of course, like Sony Styles is there. Something
right.
Weird happened, right? But yeah, I think it's Concepcion, or else any other player I'd be more than satisfied trading back.
Yeah, and I think we've kind of gone through this a little bit. How far to go back, right? Like, I'm looking at teams that are at the top of the second round. Like, who has the most picks? Like, the Raiders have 11 picks. Miami has 10 picks, or that might be flipped. I wonder, Joe, like what a team might want to come up for if it's not Ty Simpson. And maybe like a receiver and an edge rusher feels like those are often the positions teams will come up and get if it's not going to be quarterback. So I guess I don't know. Is there an idea that you're thinking about a team that wouldn't be quarterback that would make sense? Like you could go down here. This team might be looking for this. They have picks.
Yeah, I think you're asking a good question, Joe, and I think it goes back to what Jeremy was talking about in the beginning of this conversation, where the run on tackles and corners and which ones teams prefer is going to be different. And if you feel like that last tackle or that last corner, those are premium positions, you can have by trading back into 26. I think that's the other pathway to getting this done, right? Ty Simpson's the easy one. Who knows if he's going to get there, or who knows if they really need to trade up to get there. But if you are Cleveland at 39 and you were hoping to get a tackle and it just didn't work out and you want to get back in there and get that third first-round pick, I think that's a total possibility. Kansas City's kind of loaded with draft capital, and they're loaded with needs. Would they give up pick 40 to come to 26 and stock up on something? Baltimore is a team that you could talk yourself into corner, edge rusher, interior offensive line. Do they love somebody at 45? So I don't know. I think that's where you have to go is think about those tackles and corners and maybe even edge rushers that is the last one that some team has to have and work out a deal. And look, obviously, the further you move back, the more you get for the pick. And so if you're pretty, you don't have a strong conviction about any one player at 26, and you're willing to go back 10, 15, 20 spots, so you're going to get a lot in return for that. And more darts to throw might not be a bad idea.
Right, and that might sound good, too, like when you're going through that, like the Cleveland idea, if it were for a tackle or a corner, like these positions that the Bills would really not be interested in at the end of the first round. But it doesn't have to be, right? I mean, they traded out a couple years ago, and the team that came up drafted the position they ended up drafting. So, like, if you think there's a bunch of guys in a bucket, that's where, like, right now I could sit here and say, like, why would a team come up and get whatever for you at 26? But every year, some teams got two guys left that are first-round grades, and then they're going to go, move up 10 spots to do it.
Right, and we obviously look at this draft very holistically, and we see, there's all these different players at these positions that would make sense. But in all actuality, the teams that have met these players and have, like, real specifications for what they want a position, it's not as deep, right? Like, there's not 7 tackles that every team would want in the first round. There's probably 2 or 3, and that answer of 2 or 3 might be different from team to team. And so the flavors really matter here, and teams are pretty choosy with not only the people but the skill sets. And if those start to get thin and they feel like they have to have it, I could see it happening.
Joe Marino, Locked on Bills podcast. So we're waiting to see this new Bills defense. The Bills GM talked about Javon Solomon a lot the other day, whether it's smokescreen season, trying to, confuse teams about what you might want, what you might be satisfied with. When you look at starting positions available on this defense, or maybe not even just flat starting because they'll rotate in, how many spots do they need to fill on this defense still to you? And that can be the draft. That can also be, all right, the draft's over. We got to dip back into the free agency pool because that's still out there. Still a lot of players waiting. How many spots realistically do they have to fill?
Well, in terms of starting spots, I think you have 2 that stand out to me that could be available. One would be on the defensive line, whether that's a 5 tech or a nose tackle, and I think you fill in the other one would be Deion Walker. So you have Ed Oliver, Deion Walker, and then either a 5 tech or a nose tackle that would start, and then you would put Deion Walker in the other spot. Because right now that player is TJ Sanders in terms of that third guy when you go 3 down linemen. And I really like TJ Sanders as a penetration style 3 technique. I have no idea if he could play the 5, and that's a huge, roll of the dice to me to think that he's ready to be 60 to 70% snap player at 5 tech. So I think that's clearly a need. Again, that could be a nose tackle that Deion Walker becomes your 5 tech. And then the other one is inside linebacker. The Bills will play 2 inside linebackers on every snap, and right now those are Terrell Bernard and Dorian Williams. And I really like Dorian Williams. I think he's going to be a good player in this defense, but he's never really been a guy that plays every snap. So we need to see that. And then Terrell Bernard, I think he has his own questions in terms of, can you be available because you haven't been? And then what's your adjustment like to this defense? And He played in a similar scheme at Baylor, but that feels like a while ago. And, can he hold up downhill, especially with kind of a shaky front in front of him? So I think you have room for a starting inside backer and room for a starting interior defensive lineman.
Resetting on the edge rusher position a little bit, Joe. I know Malachi Lawrence is a name that has come up a lot recently. And then Cassius Howell, who we've talked about before. The idea of him, because the issue there is what? That there is like a historical outlier with arm length, kind of the Reuben Bain conversation with Howell, who could go around where the Bills pick.
Well, yeah, with Howell, it's not just the arm length, but it's mass, right? He's really lean. If the most important thing for you is burst and bend off the edge, well, my goodness, Cassius Howell is your guy. But this is kind of the way that I put it with him. When he wins with speed up the arc, it's outstanding. But if he doesn't win with speed up the arc, you're playing with 10 on defense. And that's challenging. And let's be honest, like Rousseau and Chubb are going to play a ton of snaps on the ball outside linebacker role, and then you still have Hoyt. And so I think they need to diversify this group. But like a designated pass rusher at 26 feels really rich to me.
And he fits that almost perfectly. You're saying like he's third down, pass only type of guy where he's not playing 80% of the snaps ever.
Yeah, well, I agree. But here's the challenge: is I think there's 5 or 6 other guys just like that in this class. And so do you have to do that at 26? Like if you're sitting here, Brandon Beane's waking up this morning with his cup of coffee and bowl of cereal and thinking, Cassius Howell at 26, brother, trade 50 spots back. Or that's an exaggeration, but move 20 spots back. Get a bunch of other stuff and still get yourself, your bursty, bendy guy off the edge that I think is abundantly available in this class.
Want to get one more name here for you because, again, defensive tackle is one that's mentioned quite a bit. How about Peter Woods out of Clemson, a guy that I've seen mock the Bills in the last couple of weeks?
I think Peter Woods is a decent prospect. I think he's kind of an early second-round grade for me, but I think he'd be so redundant for what they already have. He's a 290-something pound defensive tackle that's penetration style with short arms. I mean, you've got Ed Oliver, you've got T.J. Sanders, you have Dwayne Carter, who's cut from that same cloth. And so I think it's a redundant skill set that doesn't get them any closer to needing a 5-tech or a nose tackle. So I think he's a decent prospect. I think there's teams at the end of the first round that he would make a lot of sense for, like Houston. But for the Bills and where they're going with their defense, I'd struggle with that. Now, they've done work on other players with similar profiles, like Grayson Halton out of Oklahoma and Landon Robinson out of Navy. Those are very similar players. So it gives me some indication that they're interested in that skill set. But I find it to be redundant and not the direction I would go at 26.
All right. Would you be stunned by an offensive lineman early? I feel like if we're reading what they've done for pre-draft visits, that's like one tackle who's a 4th-round guy.
Yeah.
Like we know guard could be in the mix, and whether it's Osiris Torrance's future and the middle to later rounds. But I almost want to take it completely off the table at 26. I don't see it.
Yeah, to your point, there's just not been any work. That the only one is Austin Barber, who, like you mentioned, like a 4th-round developmental tackle, which would make a ton of sense for the Bills. But despite a lot of big names kind of mocking the Bills and offensive linemen at 26, I don't see that. I think they have a future need at guard, but I'm not using my number 1 draft pick to get ahead of a future need at guard.
Yeah, I'm with you there. All right. Joe Marino, Locked on Bills podcast at thejoemarino.com for everything he does. What's your plan tonight, Joe?
Yeah, you dual TV,
double TV? Are you too locked in on one or the other? What are you going to do?
So I'll have the Sabres game on the laptop, and then doing a hangout tonight with my Discord channel. So we'll be dialed in on that. Sabres on the side, but look, if we get a Sabres loss and a guard in the first round, it might be a tough night for Western New York.
All right, a win in let's end on good vibes. A win in KC Concepcion. That's where we're.
Let's go. We have a throw of the parade. Where are we having it?
All right. Thanks, Joe.
All right, guys. Thank you.
Joe Marino, Locked on Bills podcast. Find it where you find your podcasts and everything he does at thejoemarino.com. You can join him on his Discord channel tonight as well. The draft is tonight. It starts at 8 p.m. I learned that because ESPN's countdown clock is 12 hours and 35 minutes. I don't know if I thought it was at 7, but it's at 8.
And that's not their coverage. That's like the start of the draft. But their coverage, is kind of already started.
Like 2 months ago.
Although they have Mets highlights on right now. So not at this moment.
The Mets have highlights?
They won last night?
Oh, they break their losing streak.
All I saw was screenshots. One of the funniest baseball screenshots I've ever seen, which is a guy rounding third base as his helmet's coming off, and the third base coach is stop, and he's just still running. It's one of the funniest screen grabs you've ever seen in baseball.
Listen,
and then the second screen grab is him getting thrown out by 20 feet at the plate. Like he's just nowhere near home by the time the ball gets there. But they did win.
If the Mets can break their 12-game losing streak, the Sabres can score on the power play tonight. Let's have it. Power play goal tonight. I do like a point. Boy, who made this point? Brad might have made it. He might not be alone that made it. Brad's on 1-3. That getting this power play on the road is probably what they need. No one's going to be upset at them and boo them on the power play or, it'll just be on the road for a power play. I'm not saying the power play is going to be better on the road. I don't need the stats on that. Joe, there's no science.
I'm going to look. How about this?
Joe, I'm not asking for science. I'm just going for vibes.
If it's totally incorrect what you're saying, I just won't say anything.
It's not.
All I'm going to do is confirm.
I'm not telling you it's better. I'm talking about what it will need for them to just relax a little bit.
There's got to be something to your puck gets cleared out. 19,000 people are just groaning. Like, here we go again. How much would it help them to expect to score going in on the power play rather than where they're at now, which is there's no way they would even dream of expecting to score. They're probably like, oh, here we go again. Please get a goal. Go off a leg. Get us a little bit of a cheer here. Something. I would take anything on the power play. If they went 1 for 8 tonight, I'd be fine with it.
I would take it if the power play kind of fueled them on 5-on-5 as opposed to just feeling like it's, an anchor dragging them down. Who's in goal tonight? Who would you go with? 803-0550. You got the science on it?
I think I have to tell you, even though it's the opposite of what I told you.
You don't have to do this.
I think I have to. This year on the power play at home, the Sabres ranked in the NHL where?
15th.
10th.
Okay.
Where'd they rank on the road?
31st.
31st.
Somebody's worse.
But, playoffs. Let's flip that around.
Somebody's worse. 803-0550, our number. Jeremy and Joe. Give us a ring. We'll talk with Sal coming up in about an hour. Get his thoughts. His final mock draft is up at WGR550.com. Well, I think this is a very, very great point to bring up because there are, not 100, but there are 15 different strategies you could employ. Mm-hmm. And one of the ones we talk about a lot is positional value, premium positions, and I'm one that's all about that, and I will agree. Like what Mike is basically laying out there, Joe, I think is you can do that to a fault. Like you swing at this position because it's a premium position and you miss, and otherwise you might have taken a guard who would have played for you for 5 years, 10 years. The counterpoint to that is, and I'll say you mentioned guard and you mentioned linebacker. On guard, the Bills have had almost no visits with offensive linemen. Mm-hmm. The top 30 visits, if you go positionally, one offensive tackle, he's a 4th-round projection. If you go pre-draft interactions, it's the same guy. And you just can't find linemen on their visits, on their Zoom calls, on really anything that they've done. I'm sure they met with some at the Combine. I'll try and find the Combine visitor list. Mm-hmm. They did almost, I'm not saying they didn't do work on linemen. I know that they did. But extra info on linemen, it's not even there. It's receivers, it's defensive ends, defensive tackles, linebackers, safeties, even some corners, and a punter. There's not a lot of work done extra on the lineman from what we know.
Yeah, is Austin Barber the 4th-round guy?
He's the one.
Yeah, they did a Zoom call with him. He's the only one I see, too.
He also had a top 30 visit.
Yeah.
So that they just don't have a lot of evidence about line being something they're chasing.
Right.
And on linebacker, and I lost this tweet to the internet, whatever, in the last month. Linebacker would be a great fit for the Bills. They certainly could use someone, and if it's Jacob Rodriguez, that is a guy that could come in and play and make a difference. In terms of premium position and that point, there's a strange thing that happens, and it is that position does not re-sign with the team that drafted it. You go with an off-ball linebacker, that guy does not re-sign. Around the league, the best ones you've ever heard of, none of them are drafted by the team that they're with. for some reason, whether it's the market, this is Tremaine Edmonds, this is a lot. You can get that guy for 5 years, and it's unlikely he re-signs with the team that drafted him because that's a position the teams tend to go for in free agency. And whatever, if they take that guy, it could be great, and he could re-sign. But there's these little trends, and if you want to know all the trends and follow all these, and like I said, you could get lost in the weeds and lose the plot.
Yeah.
But those are two positions that I think, sure, they could go for, but there'd be a case against.
There are also levels to it, and the Bills would not be on the extreme level of this conversation this year because, like, linebackers and guards, like, there would be a spot. If they drafted, like, you might not think it's a need because they have Austin Corbett and they have Alec Anderson, but those are guys on one-year deals for not much money. If they drafted a first-round guard, like, that guy is going to be projected to start. Maybe not right away, but eventually.
Here, and we'll deal with it.
Totally fair, yeah.
We're shipping up to Boston. The series is tied at 1-1 following the Sabres' loss on Tuesday. Head coach Lindy Ruff spoke with the media yesterday. No official lineup changes. Ruff did say Noah Ostlund is a possibility for tonight, though. You can find that on demand at WGR550.com in case you missed it. You can join Brian Koziel and Owen Parker live this Sunday from 11 to 2 at Hamburg Tap Room for pregame coverage of Game 4 and more, presented by Neutral Vodka Seltzer. Keep it tasty this playoff season. Some results from last night. The Flyers beat the Penguins 5-2. The Stars beat the Wild in double overtime 4-3. And the Ducks beat the Oilers 6-4. Around the NFL, The Cowboys' executive vice president, Stephen Jones, confirmed that wide receiver George Pickens will play on the franchise tag this year and that there won't be talks for a long-term deal. Pickens does still need to sign the tag. And it's draft day. Round 1 gets underway in Pittsburgh at 8 p.m., but coverage will begin at 7 p.m., and with Game 3 again being here tonight on WGR, Nate Geary, Derek Kramer, and Zach Jones will be covering the draft starting at 7 on News Radio 930 WBEN. Those are your Paddock Chevrolet sports headlines. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Joe Cali for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
I think if Casey Concepcion goes to the Browns, and then if Caden McDonald goes to the Bears, I mean, if you look at the Bears roster, they need defensive line help, or if maybe Caden McDonald's already gone, I could see that ultimately being the catalyst for being saying, all right, our first rounders are done, let's get out of here, pull off a big heist and get a bunch of picks, but we don't really see anyone that's worth the 26th overall pick. So for as much as we will be kind of zeroing in 24 and 25, I think the team needs for the Browns and the Bears actually have a direct impact on what the Bills could do at 26.
Chris Trapasso on with the afternoon show yesterday. He joined them all throughout draft season. Quick thought on this. I heard that conversation yesterday. It was a very good one. Chris just announcing yesterday also he's got a gig. Team site producer at Buffalo Rumblings, starting a full-time job on Monday. So congrats to him and the SB Nation family in Buffalo Rumblings. They do great work there. Chris Trapasso will be joining them on Monday. Here's the thing. I kind of teased this with Joe Marino. I feel like everyone should manage their expectations for what the return on a trade down will be. Let's make this like the NHL trade deadline, right? Mm-hmm. You got a guy you're trying to trade. The market's not that hot. Who's the last guy the Sabres did this with? They didn't trade somebody at the deadline, and we were upset about it. Expiring contract, not talk, of course, but like...
there was a year Murray did nothing at the deadline.
Maybe it's Girgensons. Let's talk Girgensons, right?
Yeah, and that was when Adams teared up about it.
Okay. Yeah. It can be about anybody, though.
Yeah.
You're a GM of an NHL team, and you have an expiring UFA, and you want to move this player. Mm-hmm. But the offers don't meet what you think he's worth. Mm-hmm. What's the better move? To not accept a lower offer because, well, I have a value that I place on this. Or to take the best offer you can get because that's the market. And I would say this about trading up or trading down. Everybody loves trading down. If you say, oh, you're going to add a bunch of picks, that's not going to happen. You're not going to get a bunch of picks. Could you slide down 8 spots, 10 spots, and then slide up in another round? Maybe. But if everybody wants to trade out, which there's plenty of reporting that teams from 3 to 7 want to trade out. Right. If they all want to trade out, that means 2 things. That should mean it's cheap to trade up. And that should mean that the prices on trading down are low.
Right, because if you are the Raiders, say, and you are at 36, the Raiders, by the way, they have 10 picks right now. So they might be one of these teams that could, like, yeah, sure, we'll give you one more pick in this trade than we're going to get. But, okay, we want to move up for somebody in the late first round. We're at 36. Buffalo's interested. Seattle's GM is on the record. They're interested.
Right.
I mean, San Francisco might be interested. Miami might want to get more picks next year. They could be interested. If I have 7 teams to call,
it's just cheaper.
Someone's going to say, I'll move down 6 spots and get a 5th-round pick. So if you're Brandon Beane and I want a 3rd for moving down out of the first round. Well, sorry. I mean, Seattle's willing to move out of the first round for a 5th. So
right.
That's your competition. That will make it harder today. I do think, though, because I'm looking at some of these teams at the top of the second round. I mentioned the Raiders are one of these teams. I don't know if you do business with Miami. They have 11 picks in the first round. In the draft. Cleveland has 9. You have a bunch of teams that are early in the second that have a lot of picks.
Yep.
So you could get a trade up from one of those teams that involves them not doing a pick slide. But the odds that it's going to be a really good pick, I don't think are all that likely.
It all comes down, to the market. It's an auction. Think about an auction, or I can make every single comparison I want. But I'm going to go to one more trade here idea, and then I'm going to get some calls here. When the Bears traded up for Trubisky, they moved up one spot.
Yep.
And they had to give up a third and a fourth and a future third.
Right. Yeah.
To move from 3 to 2. Why did it cost so much? It didn't cost so much because of a quarterback tax, I don't think. It cost that much because there was another team that was going to go. Right? And then there's if I'm trading down, no matter where I am I comfortable moving 3 spots or 20 spots? Those are different prices.
All right.
So, like, the draft value chart is something that I think we near universally respect. But, of course, that value chart should move every year. There are different values every year. And you want to buy a Sabres ticket to Game 1? Guess what? It's super expensive. How come? Not that many people are selling. And a lot of people want to buy. And if there are 10,000 tickets available and nobody wants to buy, they're cheap. So I want to manage expectations for what that trade down could be. If you get a big haul, it's going to be because 3 teams want it in. If you don't get much, no, it's because you took an offer you kind of liked, and the Bills just, the math they like of it is, all right, sure, we're comfortable moving down 2-3 spots or whatever. It's a market. And the draft value chart is not, it's not the Bible.
Yeah. Brandon Beane in his career has made 3 first-round picks that were the original slot his team was in. You think of who they were?
The 3 first-round picks in the original slot.
He didn't trade up or down.
Rousseau,
correct. 30th.
Rousseau is 1.
Some of these, by the way, he's traded away altogether. Like the Diggs first just went away for Diggs. Hairston last year, and there's one more.
I want to guess here that it's Tremaine Edmonds.
It's not Tremaine Edmonds because he moved up from 22 to 16 after he had drafted Josh.
Right. They moved up twice in that draft. In fact, he didn't want to trade their original
Well, really,
first.
they traded up 3 times because they traded up twice to get Josh, and they traded up another time to get Edmonds.
They traded up for Kincaid. They traded up for Elam.
Yep. They traded down out of the Coleman to get Coleman.
Right. Other first-round picks here. Who am I missing?
You're only missing one, and it is his second highest.
Who is it?
Oliver.
Oh, right. At Oliver.
You're already in the top 10.
Yeah, 9th overall.
There was a rumor, though, that day, I remember, because I was on the board producing.
That they wanted to go to 3.
I remember Mike Shope going, turning red at the idea that there was a rumor from, maybe it was Jay Glazer, that the Bills were, in on a trade to move up to, I think, the 3rd pick to get Quinn and Williams. And they did not end up doing that.
No, they did not.
I guess that wouldn't have been. Quinn Williams is a great player. He's better than that Oliver. Not that Oliver's bad.
Would it be worth an additional first? No.
In retrospect, probably not. No.
Gina in Delaware. Gina, good morning.
Oh, good morning, Jeremy. Thanks for taking my call. I just wanted to share my excitement. First of all, happy draft day. But I'm just not locked into that. I usually am because my birthday's next week. It's a big one. But I am so locked into hockey. So excited, being a part of this drought for 14 years, being a Buffalo girl and loving my Sabres and my Bills. I'm going to tell you something. Not only am I locked into the Sabres, but you guys got me watching all these games. Last night, I'm staying up till 2 a.m. in the morning watching the Stars and the Dallas game. And I thought of you, Jeremy, because at the end, obviously, we know what happened. Wyatt Johnston scores the goal on a power play. And when they interview him at the end of the game, because I'm staying up watching this because I'm so psyched about hockey now, they're saying, you guys are so strong. What gets you through is your power play. And immediately, Jeremy, I heard your words. I am just hoping and praying that we show up tonight and that power play shows up. I just want to wish everybody a happy draft day. Go Sabres. And I just love being a Buffalo girl. You can't take the Buffalo out of the girl. Go Sabres.
Thanks, Gina. The Stars last night scored 4 goals and 3 were on the power play.
Including the double overtime winner, Wyatt Johnston.
Yeah. And you don't have to be great on the power play. But if the Sabres are not going to have one, it's going to be tough to overcome in any series that they're in. The Stars, who got waxed in Game 1, have won the last 2 games of this series.
Yes. They lost, was it the first game 6-1?
They got smoked in Game 1. And they won last night in double overtime, a goal in the 3rd on the power play, and a goal in double overtime on the power play.
Yeah.
So It is. It's a thing that whatever. Like the Sabres are going to need. You see, by the way, speaking of hockey, Risto scored last night.
Playoff Risto is a term I've seen.
Scored last night.
Risto scored was it the game winner? Might have been the game winner. He also was throwing himself in front of shots. I saw there was a sequence where he blocked a shot, lost his stick, blocked another shot. The legend of playoff Risto has begun in his first playoff experience. I cannot believe the Flyers are up 3-0 in that series. That was maybe the Kings, the worst team in the playoffs that entered. They won like 12 games in shootouts this year. They had 25 regulation wins. All the advanced numbers are like Pittsburgh's way better. They're going to win the series. 3-0 Philadelphia. Tough.
Helps to play
Man.
a bad goalie. Like Risto's goal was a bit soft, but you'll take it.
There were a couple, right? Was there another, I don't know, Skinner? It really can be such a demoralizing thing for your team. If your guy is just not giving you anything between the pipes, I mean, that could kill the whole vibe of your team. And right now, I think for Pittsburgh, is it still true that Luukkonen's last after last night?
Yes.
Okay, and goals saved above expected.
Let me double check that actually,
because it was a bad night.
I don't know if Money Puck has updated. Get your calls in 803-0550 on the Sabres on draft night. Lots going on. Join us at Brightsmith tonight. Brightsmith Brewing for our Game 3 and Bills draft party. All going on at Brightsmith Brewing. Jeremy and Joe here on WGR. Well, this is a point we made back with the Coleman trade and the Worthy trade, and I want to do it here too. Like if you drop from 26 to 34, there's only 8 spots. Maybe there's 10 players you like. Maybe there's 7 players you like. To me, the biggest thing about dropping 8 spots is that you give up control of the board. Now somebody can jump in front of you if you're kind of gambling to go down a bit. So, Joe, let me give me the short list. Give me 5 names, 4 names, 5 names. You can pick the number where they're on the board at 26. And it's not worth dropping down 8 spots. You mentioned Concepcion. You've been on Caden McDonald, defensive tackle, Ohio State. Is he still on that list? How about a 5-name list of guys that, if they're there, you're just going to say stick and pick?
If I'm being realistic, Jeremy, it's probably just KC Concepcion. It really is. Like, I would love to stick and pick Christian Miller. I'd be happy with Caden McDonald. I'd be happy with Malachi Lawrence. But I'd be more happy with the combination of players I can get at 34 and 65, or whatever it winds up being, 34 and 104 plus something. That's what it comes down to. So my do not trade away from realistic players. Like, of course, like Sony Styles is there. Something weird happened, right? But yeah, I think it's Concepcion, or else any other player I'd be more than satisfied trading back.
I wonder 2 things. I wonder, of course, who Lindy goes with tonight, and then I wonder if they lose and how they lose will matter. Will Lindy's tone change at all? I still find the way he talked about Game 2 to be interesting, odd, different than what he normally would be. It was such a soft hand about that loss, a game in which it didn't look like they played very well really at all. Well, the urgency was not there, and he's like, they got a little lucky, and, it happens. I just thought, or I think I should say, that if the same game happened again, I'd want him to be sounding a little more upset about it.
I think you want to be careful not to assume what he said to the media is what he said to the players.
Oh, I wouldn't assume that it's the exact same, but I guess the players just don't want that to be public. He doesn't
doesn't need it to be public because he knows this is sort of the fan base is doesn't know how this all goes right now.
That's right.
We're all the sky is falling.
We're reacquainting ourselves.
Or Game 2.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think there's a little bit of it that's like, all right, let me just cool this off.
Yeah.
We won one game that we should have won. We lost one game we should have lost. The series is where the series should be. Nobody deserves anything more or less than they've got right now. So I'm not going to get out here and tear my players up in front of the media after they lose their first playoff game. Let me have the talk with them and tell them why they weren't good enough tonight, which that's his job. That is what he does. So there's no way he didn't do that. So I think the message in the media is more about sort of trying to control the narrative a little bit. Mm-hmm. And that's a veteran coach understanding he's got a young team that's doing this for the first time. And so that's why I didn't have much of a problem with or even really think much at all about how he sounded after game 2. I just thought it was, I'm going to do this thing because I think it's right to take probably a little bit of pressure off my guys because they are probably feeling it. They just lost their first playoff game. Mm-hmm. They probably feel horrible right now. And they don't need to feel any worse than they do. So let me not pour gasoline on that fire and let them, take what I tell them in the room and go with that. And I'll get out here and we'll deal with it.
Totally fair, yeah. Maybe you haven't heard us say we'll be at Brightsmith Brewing tonight. Niagara Street. Love a good time. Carving station. Who doesn't love a good carving station?
Mm-hmm. Get there early, too, because the game will start
7 o'clock.
About an hour before the draft. Maybe a little less, because 7 o'clock will be 7:10.
Sure. 7 o'clock start to the hockey game. 8 o'clock start to the draft.
Yep.
Sal Capaccio has a mock draft up at our website, WGR550.com. We'll talk about it with Sal coming up at 8:30. He sent us a message. Hey, make sure you mention it. And I told him we have, and I saw that in his mock draft there's a run at 22, 23, and 24 on receiver, and that will take years off my life if that happens again. Mm-hmm. And he said he was thinking about me when he did it. That's an attack on me. You tell me that all these receivers are available. All of a sudden, like Concepcion gets to 24, and I got to watch him go to the Browns to catch passes from Shedeur Sanders.
Right.
Dylan Gabriel. It's fine. They can go that offensive end. He has him taking Caden McDonald, defensive tackle.
Yeah, it was 2023, 20, 21, 22, 23. You remember all four receivers?
Of course I do.
JSN.
One
of them's available for trade right now.
Jordan
reportedly.
Addison, Zay Flowers, Quentin Johnston.
Yeah,
and
Johnston's available for trade, reportedly.
And then the Bills take Kincaid right after that run.
Yep.
803-0550 and 1-888-550-2550. There are more pictures in the Mike Vrabel, Diana Rossini story. And
are there?
Says, there are more pictures.
Vrabel is going to miss day 3 of the draft for counseling.
Yes,
reportedly.
And there's also been reporting that Rossini and Vrabel coordinated their response to the initial report.
Yep.
So anyway, the whole it's a nothing burger is certainly looking like it's a much more of a something burger. 803-0550. Where's your mind right now? On the Sabres power play, goaltending, the Bills draft pick? Give us a ring. We'll talk about all of it. 803-0550, 1-888-550-2550 to join us on WGR. I had a thought today pulling into the plaza here, into the building, which is, everybody loves trading down. And just imagine, you wake up, you're a GM in the NFL today. You wake up, and your first thought is, if I trade down, everyone will say I'm smart. That's it. That's all you have to do. You trade down, you get credit. no matter what. Almost no matter what.
Didn't they do it 2 years ago and not many people? Well, not as many people were saying that's smart.
Everybody says it's smart. They didn't get great value.
And they traded with the Chiefs.
Right.
There was a combination of you didn't get nearly anything.
That was
you
the
traded
big part
up from
of it.
round 4 to round 3, and you dealt with your number one rival.
Right.
Like that's the scenario where you're not getting a ton of, oh, wow, look at the Bills. Sharp.
That was the story. The story was trading down, and the Chiefs was the team that you traded down with in the Keon Coleman trade. And I drove in today thinking about that trade. Not even because of the Chiefs, but because when you get to the draft, everybody thinks more is better. And I understand why. There's a lot of randomness to the draft. What did that trade down produce? It produced Keon Coleman and Dwayne Carter.
Mm-hmm.
How's that gone? I traded down. I didn't have any difference between these receivers, so I took this one, and I moved up, and I got a better pick, and I took what? A guy that doesn't play either.
Right.
I traded down, and I got 2 pieces that don't really play. What if instead of that they had traded up and gotten Brian Thomas Jr.? It would have been maybe panned, oh, wow, you gave away a 4th-round pick, or who knows? Like, that was a year where they went in, and they didn't have a 3rd-round pick, and a lot of the conversation was that the GM wanted to get a 3rd-round pick back. And I don't think that is a very good process to go into a draft saying, I don't have a 3rd. I should like to get a 3rd back. What is it about? Is it about just as many picks as possible? It could be. For some of you out there, it could be about that. Or is it about difference makers? I feel like what I want are difference makers for this team. And, that can be a defensive end. That can be Casey Concepcion. I've got my wide receiver train shirt on today. When I saw that in the closet, I thought it's wide receiver train polo.
We do have wide receiver train hats we're going to have to wear tonight.
Yes.
I'm going to have to remember to wear that.
We're shipping up to Boston. The series is tied 1-1 following the Sabres' loss on Tuesday. Head coach Lindy Ruff spoke with the media yesterday. No official lineup changes. Ruff did say, though, Noah Ostlund is a possibility for tonight. You can find that on demand in case you missed it at WGR550.com. You can join Brian Koziel and Owen Parker live this Sunday from 11 to 2 at Hamburg Tap Room for pregame coverage of Game 4 and more, presented by Neutral Vodka Seltzer. Keep it tasty this playoff season. Results from last night. The Flyers, they beat the Penguins 5-2. The Stars beat the Wild in double overtime 4-3. And the Ducks beat the Oilers 6-4. In the NFL, Cowboys Executive Vice President Stephen Jones confirmed that wide receiver George Pickens will play on the franchise tag this year and that there won't be talks for a long-term deal. Pickens does still need to sign the tag. And it's draft day. As round 1 will get underway in Pittsburgh at 8 p.m. tonight. Coverage will begin at 7 p.m. with Game 3 also being tonight. Right here on WGR, Nate Geary, Derek Kramer, and Zach Jones will be covering the draft over on News Radio 930, WBEN. Again, coverage starting at 7. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Joe Cali for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
It's your
Game 3 tonight. We will be at Brightsmith Brewing for the official WGR watch party. You can attend. Grab a ticket before you go. Walk up, buy a ticket. It'll be a raucous time. Big screens. Game 3. And, of course, the draft. Game 3 starts at 7. The draft starts at 8. Maybe the Bills trade out. Maybe not. Maybe we don't care. Maybe the Sabres are still playing because it's in overtime. How's the vibe today? How's the group chat, everybody? Are we nervous?
Settled in a little bit.
Are we freaking out?
I'm not freaking out. I don't think people are freaking out. I think there's a confidence they're gonna look a lot better than they did in Game 2.
You have that confidence.
I have that confidence.
Do I have that confidence?
I think it would be. I think I said somewhere before the series. Like I think in a series like this, you go 6 games. Like they'll all play you once or twice. It's just hockey. It's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Well, I got the once. So I feel like they got looking like the better team in a Game 3. You are, going to want to bounce back, and maybe you're embarrassed by that effort. I don't know. I think they are still the better team, and I think it will look like that for most of the games they play, and I think that would increase the odds that tonight's one of them. So I also like the idea of Ostlund going back in, which I feel like Lindy kind of leaned that way yesterday. Like listening to him, I kind of felt like
he's real close.
Yeah, and then he's been available, and I just think he should go back in the lineup. He is definitively better as a hockey player than whoever you're going to take out for him. Assuming that would be like somebody from the fourth line. I mean, it would be Dunn, right? It'd be Josh Dunn. Is there anybody else they would take out of the lineup? There's nobody else that makes sense to me. I did have a Twitter interaction with Chad DeDominicis yesterday because I liked Greenway through a couple of games, and I hadn't even had the thought of taking him out. And Chad was like, should maybe they think about that fourth line needs to be able to do more offensively than it does. They are their best line so far at preventing the other team from getting chances. And they have played a good amount of minutes against the Pastrnak line. The Dunn, Malenstein, Greenway line. They are stopping the other team from getting chances.
How much is that? How much of that is the opposition? Like Boston's fourth line.
Well, some of it. I mean, but
third line.
But they're playing the top line
matching?
like half the minutes.
Okay.
So in that respect, and the numbers for Pastrnak when he's out there against them are not good. So they are doing a good job when they're matched up there. Some of it would be because I think the next most common matchup was the fourth line. But the problem with those three are, especially when you can't score, which they didn't look like they could in game 2, they're giving you 0 offensively.
Yeah.
Like they have 9 combined goals between the three of them this year. Greenway has 4 goals in his last 2 seasons, and he's played about 80 games in that amount of time. Versus you're getting smaller, and this isn't even Oslin. This would be Tanner Pearson, who has 19 goals in his last 2 seasons, because I just need more scoring, and maybe I want my fourth line to be able to give me a little bit more. And I might sacrifice some defense for that, but let's lean in all the way to I don't have to play your game. I don't have to be warring with you in the boards. I am faster than you. I am more skilled than you. I'm going to put Oslund in. I'm going to put Pearson in. I'm just going to be as fast and as skilled as possible and see if you can handle it. I don't think they'll take Greenway out. I think Oslund, though, will really... I would expect him to go in tonight.
803-0550. If you want to talk to us about the draft, you can do that. The Sabres, you can. The list of things we're looking for tonight. I mean, saves.
Well, who's in net first off?
But
then,
whoever it is,
yep.
I mean, saves, the power play, and I think we're all, maybe not all, we're looking for the captain to have a game. Not that he's had bad games, but make a difference, right? Make a difference. Look like you're the kind of player that can control a game, control a series. You know, Paul has referenced it many times that Marco Sturm said, if we let him, Rasmus Dahlin will kill us, and he has not killed them. So, you know, Paul's referred to it as a bit of a chess match. Like, all right, it's Dahlin's move. You got to find a way. You got to do something. You got to make a big difference out there, however you do it. And it did not happen in game 2. So maybe tonight's the night.
Definitely looking for that.
The one thing that I think is enormous tonight is just score the first goal.
I totally agree with that.
Like, score a goal so that you force them to get away from what they want to do. You've let them for 5 periods play exactly how they want to because they haven't had to score on you. And so they can do their muddied up, slow, we don't need to do anything other than chip the puck in thing and just wait for you to make a mistake. If you put them in a hole, that I think is going to lead to a lot more opportunity for them.
I'd also like to kind of, if they score early, maybe we can get away from this idea that Swayman has been so good. Like, again, if we just do the goals save above expected number in the playoffs, Swayman's 6th out of 16. Like, he's been good, but he's not been some unsolvable problem for them.
Yeah, he hasn't been like a Dom Hasek in '99 sort of guy. Like he's been good, and you know, you want to go to great, sure, because he hasn't given you anything other than the third period. Like that was a collapse by everybody, including him. So I think that getting on him would give some confidence to the team too. Like, all right, this guy's gettable. He's been good, but he's not, you know, prime Vasilevsky or whoever you want to compare him to.
Right.
I don't think he's quite there.
Vasilevsky's been like just meh. Oh. Do you know who the best goal in the playoffs?
He's meh or bad in 3 straight playoffs.
Yeah. They've also been giving up power play goals. Do you know who the best goalie in the playoffs on goals save above expected is?
Dan Vladar.
He is 3rd.
It's a good guess.
Not Ottinger.
It's not Dobish.
No.
Tampa's not looked perfect.
Yeah, they haven't been.
Is it gonna be Minnesota?
Nope.
No.
Ingram?
Nope.
No, he hasn't been that good.
Is this obvious?
No, it's not obvious.
No.
But it's ironic or whatever. It's interesting.
Oh, is it Allmark?
It's Allmark.
Yeah,
right. He's been incredible for them, and they're in a hole.
The top 2 goalies in the entire playoffs right now, it's been Allmark and Freddie Anderson in that same series.
Yeah.
But Allmark, the biggest question coming in has been the best goalie. Voodoo as goalies.
The scoring first point, though, is totally right. I mean, game 2, Thompson comes down 15 seconds in.
Yes.
If he scores on Swayman there, isn't it a totally different hockey game?
I think
they might not win it, but isn't it a totally different hockey game?
I think it is such a big difference in terms of how it forces that team to play.
Right, this team specifically.
The Bruins, yeah, exactly. The Bruins specifically, I don't think are capable really at all of playing a game from behind and finding any success, especially if you're, Buffalo's shown the ability to do what Boston's done to them and lock it down and like, all right, you're doing nothing here. Have fun. You're going to have to dump it in and stay on the outside. I mean, how many third periods down the stretch did we watch where they had a 1-goal, 2-goal lead and they were just like impenetrable? Get to that place where you can do that and not have to worry about, all right, we have to be that good defensively and score now. Like, get yourself, do some early work, and put Boston in a hole and bury them because you can. They're not good enough to stop you if you get to that position on them. That's why I asked Lindy yesterday, like, the power play, you need it because you got to get into a better position. And he said the same thing. He was like the early ones, Quinn missed a half open net. He referenced that chance specifically, and he was like, if we get that, we're in a far better position, and that game is very different. And he's right. Mm-hmm. And like that is it. You got to get yourself in a good spot against this team because if you let them, it's the same thing we've been talking about yesterday with how they're playing. Let them dictate how the series goes. That plays into their hands. If you can dictate a little bit of that and make it fast, make it a little looser, then you're in way better shape.
803-0550. We're multitasking Sabres and Bills today. It's a big night. Get to 2 TVs, get to our watch party. Sal coming up at 8:30 on his final mock draft. Brian in Buffalo next up. Brian, good morning.
Hey, good morning. I was at the game the other night, and boy, oh boy, the face-offs is something that's I haven't heard you guys mention.
Yeah, the numbers, Brian, the numbers on face-offs, the Sabres clawed their way back to a respectable number, but when the game was in the balance, they were getting destroyed in the circle. They're absolutely destroyed.
Yep. The scoreboard said 24-3, and it was unbelievable. We were out hit the other night. They were getting destroyed on face-offs. They were being outshot. The shot attempts. I mean, I don't think the Sabres could play any worse. I think the last time they played so pathetic was the 11th game during the win streak against Columbus, where they just got destroyed on that Saturday afternoon game. But this next point was the lineup changes. Ullmark has been terrible. I think he's allowed, 7 goals and about 45 shots?
You mean UPL. UPL. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
My apologies. UPL should have been yanked after that second goal. That can't even happen in a preseason game. I mean, that was just it. I don't have an explanation or even really anything to say. I mean, that's it. His time's got to go. And put Lyon in at this point. I mean, Lyon trying to fight a guy in the third period was kind of funny, but he's got the fire in there, and he's a competitor and has the experience. And then Oslin has to go in, add some more offense. And then lastly, I'm sure people are going to disagree with this one, but I've had enough of Logan Stanley. The guy, I think he sucks. He's your classic 90s goon. He's a Darian Hatcher, slow dinosaur. And his shot is like Zhitnik. It's just high, it's wide. Yes, he hits people. Yes, he's intimidating. I'd go with Metza. Metza, he adds offense, and that's what this team needs. He's a faster skater, and it's insanity. Last point, I got my teenager, Dad, how do you deal with this anger and anxiety? I'm like, you just roll with it, kid. It's part of the playoffs. Welcome to it. And if it's a playoff run, you're going to need medication like the rest of us come the end of June here. All right, hang up on
Thanks, Brian. In terms of Logan Stanley in the regular season, it made me really nervous. I don't have much of a problem with what he's been in the playoffs at this point.
I liked him down the stretch at the very end of the regular season too. Him and Timmins, the numbers are amazing, by the way. Like those two together. Well, they were going into game 2. I should look probably what that looked like after Monday or Tuesday because it could have changed a lot. But they've played well together. I have no need to do anything there. And we talked about goalie, but I would be team go with Lyon tonight. I mean, really part of it too is how much confidence do you have that they're going to be the better team? Because if you're confident in that, evaluate which goalie you have right now, which one is more likely to lose you a hockey game, which one you trust more not to do that. I've got a veteran that's had a great season all year long, that the style he plays, I think, is more, you've got to really beat me cleanly. I'm not going to be way out of the net. I'm not going to make these giant mistakes. versus I have this other guy who's a little bit more up and down, and he's younger, and he's also coming off a game where he allowed a goal like he did, and I have to guess at what his mental state is going to be. Like, who's less likely to lose you the game? Because if you think you're going to be the better team, that should be how you make your decision, and that's how I think you get to Alex Lyon.
803-0550. Are we all... Oh, and you... I want to put you on the spot. I feel like... I heard yesterday Bulldog say he'd go to Lyon. I mean, I know going to Lyon's prisoner of the moment stuff. You to me, sound the most reluctant about it.
I would do it if I was the coach.
Okay.
I'm talking what I think. The way they handled the end of the year makes me think that it would be really fast for them to do it this early.
No.
I don't think it makes sense for them to have given him the games they did and the opportunity they did because of all that stuff you're talking about, Joe, where like Lyon was great all year. He was awesome. Then why did you take the net away from him? Because they did. Mm-hmm. Lindy yesterday said, he got hurt and missed a few starts. And they were giving Luukkonen games before he got hurt. He got hurt in a morning skate, and it was going to be like the third game in a row Luukkonen was playing. Mm-hmm. And so I would be confused about why you did that in the first place if they go to Lyon tonight.
I wonder how everyone would think of this if the second goal doesn't happen. Right? The bounce that goes by him. Mm-hmm. Let's just say
everything else is the same.
Everything else is the same. How do you feel about him? I feel mostly the same. I think that's pretty much right.
I'm mostly the same too.
Like that's
wait, I'm sorry. On Luukkonen or what they should do tonight?
On what they should do tonight.
Okay, yeah, that's
like
where
I'm not being put again. Like you want to say it's a bad bounce. It's he made a mistake. It's just that's very unlikely to happen again. I feel like what is likely to maybe happen again is I don't know. I don't have the answers. I don't claim to, but I'm not one that the second goal is really my tipping point. Is what I'm trying to say.
I'm not mad about the goal itself. My concern is what it does to him, like mentally. Like, is he now in a bad place? Because we've seen him, and I say this constantly about him. He has a hard time when he feels, I think, not confident in his game. And if like that is that is like blowing a hole through your gas tank of confidence. And you saw it in the game. He gave up a bunch after that and got yanked. And so my concern would be like, can he pull himself up out of that tailspin? And that is what it has more to do with for me, that second goal itself.
Sure.
As its own sort of entity moment. That has more impact than the goal, like physically going past him, does to me. Because that, like you said, it's not going to happen again. If it happens again, then like we've got issues.
Yeah, but part of me thinks hearing that, and that is it's definitely true about Luukkonen. I mean, really always has been. That if that is true, that in one night I can start really getting into confidence with him, and is he going to lose it, and how do I have to manage him? Like, honestly, it could have been the best thing that could have happened to them. Like, have it happen now. Have it happen now, because this is the third game of the playoffs, and we are already here with this guy that it was already in the back of my mind, I know, with him going into the playoffs because of what his career has been. And now we're here into night 3. Maybe it's the best thing that could have happened to them to say, look, I got the proof pretty early on that I already have to be thinking this way. Okay, let me get to Lyon. Because what's the best thing that could happen? Lyon plays tonight, he looks great, and they win, and he plays again in Game 4. And I got a veteran goalie that was top 15 in the NHL this season in total on expected goals saved above expected, and for much of the year was in the top 5. Luukkonen was number 1 in the save percentage since December. I know. Lyon was 5th. I got a guy who had a great season that's a veteran. And if I could just put him in and let him go and not have to worry about any of these inconsistencies, that might be best for the Buffalo Sabres.
Well, is that going too far to assume that Lyon gives you all those things, though?
Does he give it to you more than Luukkonen does?
This year, for sure, he has.
Yeah.
But, there's a reason he's not a premier 1A starter.
I guess, do you disagree with me that I want to bet on the Sabres outplaying their opponent going forward?
No.
And
I don't necessarily want to bet that. Like
I would bet that.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because if that is the case, I think I want Lyon. If I'm betting on being the better team, I want Lyon to be the goalie. If I'm an underdog, I'll listen to Luukkonen being like, run with them, go with them every game. If they were playing Tampa right now and Tampa dogged them through 2 games and it looks like you are outmatched, playoff experience, I'd think Luukkonen, we talked about this yesterday, like higher ceiling, his athletic traits, like maybe I just got to keep going with him, hope he catches fire, steal a couple games for me. But if I think I'm the better team, I think I want Lyon.
I guess game 2 has me spooked enough that they can get pushed off of their game that I have less confidence that they will just look like the better team every night. I think they're the better team in game 1. And in game 2, it was just kind of – maybe it was just because it was another game where they didn't score first, and maybe it's because the power play has me so sapped of, like, belief that I'm not totally confident they'll look like the better team for the rest of the series.
That's why I'm like almost desperate to have them find the right answer in goal. Because
so they can play more confidently?
No, because I don't think they will find the answer on the power play.
Right.
And I think they have to get to the right answer on one of those 2.
Right. You have to overcome one of your 2 problems,
and
goaltending and power play. One of the 2 should get you through the series.
Yeah, and I just don't think they're going to get there on the power play.
I think that's probably right. I think it's going to be tough for them to get anything. Like at this point, it's execution. There's nothing that the coaches can really even do for these players. They just need to figure out how to pass the puck to one another. Like, it's just what it is. And so will that come? Maybe. Right. But there's no kind of betting on that. There's nothing the coach can change, in my mind, to do that.
Yeah.
What can the coach do? He can switch the goalie. And,
coach is coach. It's
Mike yesterday on his show mentioned a time Lindy said to him, listen, the coach has to do something.
Yeah.
And he's right. The coach does have to do something. If your team is, in a tailspin because your goaltender is not inspiring confidence or is costing you goals, then you've got to change that. And yeah, he's in a position where he's got 2 guys he can trust. So I have gotten to a better place with. I think it's more. I think it's a 50-50 tonight. I would not be surprised either way which one of them comes out of the top.
Do you think I'm right? By the way, if Lyon played tonight and won, he would have to be the game 4 guy.
Oh yeah,
I do.
You wouldn't go back to the rotation.
What if they win 5-3? Is that any different?
That's what I wonder. Lindy talked up the rotation yesterday. Like, would you just go back to a rotation?
I would think you go win and you're in. If you win, you stay.
That's how they got to Luukkonen, was they decided like win and stay, lose, and there might be consequences.
Yep.
Cody in Rochester. Cody, what's up?
Happy draft day, guys. Go Sabres. Guys, I think about 2021 when Josh Allen had guys like Diggs, Manuel Sanders, Gabe Davis, Cole Beasley. He had a full stable of really, really excellent guys. I'm all in. I want Casey Concepcion tonight. I think if they could package Keon Coleman, maybe give up some draft capital from next season. Let's go get this guy. Let's give Josh Allen the best weapons. And while we're at it, if we can get him on the cheap, let's get Brandon Cooks back in the building again. Let's give Allen what he needs. Go Bills.
Thanks, Cody. It's the one thing.
Will they have to move up for him?
For who? Concepcion?
For Concepcion. I mean, you got to be worried about who in front of you.
That's one of the biggest questions. If he's on the board and they don't take him, I fully expect lots of people to be upset about that. Mm-hmm. It is very odd for me, this whole experience where, I've, of course, been banging the drum for a receiver for 5 years, and it seems like most people have aligned behind this guy as a good idea at 26. And I have a tough time believing they will do it. Mm-hmm. I don't want to get myself if you're at the draft party tonight, here's what's going to happen. You're going to say, hey, what do you think is going to happen? And I'll say, like, oh, they're going to go defensive player. And then they're going to get to the 21st pick, and a couple receivers will be on the board, and I will not be able to control myself from screaming, Concepcion! At the screen. I just know that's what's going to happen. I'm like,
he's going to lose his voice because he's going to yell Concepcion on the right, he's going to yell left, and they're on the power play, shoot!
Right.
At the same time.
You know how we make the comparison for Josh Allen that when he's out there, they tell him not to run, he becomes Frank the Tank, he's going to do what he's going to do. That's me with the receiver. Like, oh, yeah, let's get a defensive end. Maybe we'll go to Bed Bath & Beyond. I don't know if we'll have time. And then as soon as you put that wide receiver on the board in front of me, I'm going to go streaking in the quad. I'm just not going to be able to control myself. Of course I'm going to want this player. I'd be into Denzel Boston. I think it's a good idea that he is not Keon Coleman. The Coleman conversation, like, I always want to be careful with it because I don't want to completely crush the player as being done, won't ever contribute again. Because if he's on the team, I do expect him to contribute. I do expect him to throw him the ball. He had a touchdown in the Denver game, did he not? Like, you know,
he had a long catch. Yeah, I don't think he got
he's
in.
going to be on the team. And one thing about Coleman that if it works out or not, would you grant this? Any team wants to portray that your draft status doesn't matter. You know, we don't care if you're a first-round pick or a sixth-round pick or a UDFA. You're going to have to make your spot. In Vegas, Clint Kubiak has taken the Raider logo off of helmets. Everyone's going to earn their Raider logo on their helmets.
Yeah, is he really?
Yes, he's doing that. Yeah, Max Crosby's going to earn a logo. Anyway, my point is this. I can't remember a player ever getting propped up because of draft position more than Coleman has been. And they keep doing it. No one else gets this.
No one else has got this treatment in this organization.
They're not saying it about Dwayne. They're not being asked about Dwayne Carter. But if they were asked about Dwayne Carter, they would not say, we're going to do everything we can to make sure it works out. Maybe they would because they want to pay lip service. But Coleman is
right,
propped up and elevated because of draft status alone.
Right. Who else gets the workload and the role that he has gotten purely on their draft status that they've picked? Like
Nobody.
in this, Elam didn't get on the field.
Elam did not.
Cook, it took a year for him to get out there. Right. I mean, Kincaid still doesn't even really play a full role, and I know there's other reasons for that. But Bishop missed his whole first year basically because he was learning on the job.
He didn't even have a starting spot going into year two.
Right. Well,
he played his way into it and became indispensable.
While Coleman became like their most played receiver almost the second he showed up.
Right.
Yeah.
And listen,
that's a good point.
If that doesn't mean it can't work. Like if they play him and they tweak the role and they find, then great. That'll be great. But they will have propped him up to do it. Like it's a stimulus package. It's a tax break. It's to try to get it going at not at all costs, but if they pass on a receiver because they're going to continue to prop him up, I think that'd be frustrating for sure. But again, they do have other needs. They have a lot of needs on the defensive front. They need a linebacker. You can make a case for safety long term. You can make a lot of cases. So draft night. We'll get Sal's thoughts on it. He's got his latest mock draft up at our website, WGR550.com. Go to brightsmithbrewing.com to grab a ticket to our draft party and watch party tonight and be there when I collapse onto the floor because I've convinced myself that they'll take a receiver and they don't, even though I know that they won't. It's fine. It's okay. Just grant me some grace at like.
Would you just take a pick
at 10:33 p.m. when my tweets are like all caps about receivers? Just know that I'm in the moment. All right, I'm just going to be going through it. I know that I will. All right, Jeremy and Joe, Sal, and your phone calls, draft, Sabres, all of it here on WGR. Well, this is a point we made back with like the Coleman trade and the Worthy trade, and I want to do it here too. Like if you drop from 26 to 34. There's only 8 spots. Maybe there's 10 players you like. Maybe there's 7 players Jeremy
you
White
like.
here for Waylon. To me, the biggest thing about dropping 8 spots is that you give up control of the board. Now somebody can jump in front of you if you're kind of gambling to go down a bit. So, Joe, let me give me the short list. Give me 5 names, 4 names, 5 names. You can pick the number where they're on the board at 26, and it's not worth dropping down 8 spots. You mentioned Concepcion. You've been on Caden McDonald, defensive tackle, Ohio State. Is he still on that list? How about a 5-name list of guys that, if they're there, you're just going to say stick and pick?
If I'm being realistic, Jeremy, it's probably just KC Concepcion. It really is. Like, I would love to stick and pick Christian Miller. I'd be happy with Caden McDonald. I'd be happy with Malachi Lawrence. But I'd be more happy with the combination of players I can get at 34 and 65. Or, whatever it winds up being, 34 and 104 plus something. That's what it comes down to. So my do not trade away from realistic players. Like, of course, like Sony Styles is there. Something weird happened, right? But yeah, I think it's Concepcion or else any other player I'd be more than satisfied trading back.
I think this is a very, very a great point to bring up because there are not 100, but there are 15 different strategies you could employ. Mm-hmm. And one of the ones we talk about a lot is positional value, premium positions, and I'm one that's all about that. And I will agree. Like what Mike is basically laying out there, Joe, I think is You can do that to a fault. Like you swing at this position because it's a premium position and you miss, and otherwise you might have taken a guard who would have played for you for 5 years, 10 years. The counterpoint to that is, and I'll say you mentioned guard and you mentioned linebacker. On guard, the Bills have had almost no visits with offensive linemen. Mm-hmm. The top 30 visits, if you go positionally, one offensive tackle, he's a 4th-round projection. If you go pre-draft interactions, it's the same guy. And you just can't find linemen on their visits, on their Zoom calls, on really anything that they've done. I'm sure they met with some at the Combine. I'll try and find the Combine visitor list. They did almost, I'm not saying they didn't do work on linemen. I know that they did. But extra info on linemen, it's not even there. It's receivers, it's defensive ends, defensive tackles, linebackers, safeties, even some corners, and a punter. There's not a lot of work done extra on the lineman from what we know.
Yeah, is Austin Barber the 4th-round guy?
He's the one.
Yeah, they did a
guy.
Zoom call with him. He's the only one I see, too.
He also had a top 30 visit.
Yeah.
So that they just don't have a lot of evidence about line being something they're chasing.
Right.
And on linebacker, and I lost this tweet to the internet, whatever, in the last month. Linebacker would be a great fit for the Bills. They certainly could use someone, and if it's Jacob Rodriguez, that is a guy that could come in and play and make a difference. In terms of premium position and that point, there's a strange thing that happens, and it is that position does not re-sign with the team that drafted it. You go with an off-ball linebacker, that guy does not re-sign. Around the league, the best ones you've ever heard of, none of them are drafted by the team that they're with. For some reason, whether it's the market, this is Tremaine Edmonds, this is a lot. You can get that guy for 5 years, and it's unlikely he re-signs with the team that drafted him because that's a position the teams tend to go for in free agency. And whatever, if they take that guy, he could be great, and he could re-sign. But there's these little trends, and if you want to know all the trends and follow all these, and like I said, you could get lost in the weeds and lose the plot.
Yeah.
But those are two positions that I think, sure, they could go for, but there'd be a case against.
There are also levels to it, and the Bills would not be on the extreme level of this conversation this year because, like, linebackers and guards, like, there would be a spot. If they drafted, like, you might not think it's a need because they have Austin Corbett and they have Alec Anderson, but those are guys on one-year deals for not much money. If they drafted a first-round guard, like, that guy is going to be projected to start. Maybe not right away, but eventually.
Ship it up to Boston. The series tied 1-1 following the Sabres' loss on Tuesday night. Head coach Lindy Ruff spoke with the media yesterday. No official lineup changes. Ruff did say Noah Ostlund is a possibility for tomorrow. You'll be able to find that on demand at WGR550.com in case you missed it. You can join Brian Koziel and Owen Parker live this Sunday from 11 to 2 at Hamburg Tap Room for pregame coverage of Game 4 and more, presented by Neutral Vodka Seltzer. Keep it tasty this playoff season. Some results from the playoffs last night. The Flyers beat the Penguins 5-2. The Stars beat the Wild in double overtime 4-3. And the Ducks beat the Oilers 6-4. In the NFL, Cowboys Executive Vice President Stephen Jones confirmed that wide receiver George Pickens will play on the franchise tag this year and that there won't be talks for a long-term deal. Pickens does still need to sign the franchise tag, and it's draft day. Round 1 gets underway in Pittsburgh at 8 p.m. tonight. Coverage will begin at 7, with Game 3 of Sabres Bruins being tonight here on WGR. Nate Geary, Derek Kramer, and Zach Jones will be covering the draft over on News Radio 930 WBEN. Again, coverage begins at 7. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet, with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Joe Cali for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
Draft day, less than 12 hours away, 11 hours, 24 minutes, and 49 seconds. But who's counting? ESPN is. Yeah. All right, perfect. Sal's ready. Sal's on the Western Hotline. Sal, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Welcome to the day that we've all wondered for a couple months could actually happen. A NFL draft and a Sabres playoff game on the same day.
Yeah. I mean, it's exciting. We've been multitasking all day on the show, like what's top of mind. So,
yeah.
Did you do the math, Sal, of when the Bills normally pick? I think usually it's in the 11 o'clock hour when they're this late, but it's 8-minute clock this year, right? So, I mean, that could be like
and they're a little
45-minute hour difference.
As a non-division winner,
right.
they're a little
and that's
earlier.
That's why I didn't actually do the official math, but generally it's about, I think, around 11:30 for late 20s. But it's only 8 minutes this year, as Jeremy just pointed out. So I think the Sabres game should be over by the time the Bills pick, unless the Bills were to make a massive jump up.
Yeah, puck drop, especially with it being a 7 o'clock game. You know, you end somewhere in the 9 o'clock hour or the hockey game without overtime. You're thinking, I wouldn't think the Bills are drafting any more than like an hour before they usually are.
Right.
So you're somewhere in the 10 o'clock hour. They should be done. But overtime, that's always a possibility.
I actually put out on Twitter last night right before I went to bed, would you take a guaranteed Sabres-Bruins Game 3 overtime right now? And that could be personally or just could be because of your time, or just because you think the way the game would go or whatever. You know what I mean?
You said yes?
A 3-2 overtime win?
Oh, win.
Oh.
Sorry, I thought you were
No,
saying...
I did not say that. I said just a guaranteed overtime. If I guaranteed you right now, guys, if I said right now, Sabres game's going to overtime tonight, no questions asked, would you take it?
I was gonna say, I was surprised you were so into the idea. The anxiety level. No, I wouldn't take it. No, I'm not gonna be upset. They could still win it. I think they're the better team. I'm sticking with that. So I want them to win in regulation. I think they can win in regulation. I'm gonna go beyond it.
Overtime,
overtime's dumb and things goes off a leg.
A sudden death period where power plays and goaltending become more important. Color me nervous.
Yeah.
Anyway. Sal, you've got your latest mock draft up at WGR550.com. You decided to make it a personal attack on me by having a wide receiver run right in front of the Bills, which is fine. But take us through your methodology. You landed at Caden McDonald, defensive tackle out of Ohio State, who I know the Bills have been mocked to draft this position and this player many times, and you seem to like the fit.
Yeah. By the way, real quick, last year, pick 26 came in at 11:08 p.m. apparently. I'm looking now if that is correct. So there we go. So, look, I go extensively into receiver and other areas that Bills fans would, I'm sure, want. And I love Casey Concepcion. Like, if he's there, the Bills take him, I think let's go. That is a really good fit for this team. I think I've said many times, he could definitely fit the return man role. He's a separator. He gets down the field. They need this. In my mock, I have 6 wide receivers going before the Bills select. And unfortunately, I have 3 of them right before the Bills select, as you point out, Jeremy, and one of them is Casey Concepcion. So I have then, how does the board look? Well, I'm not taking the 7th wide receiver at that point. That'd be Chris Bell. And I think the Bills absolutely have a need at interior defensive line. I've been hammering this drum for a few months now. And I just think the proof is in, or the clues are in, how they've operated or haven't operated. They have a new defensive coordinator. They've talked a lot about stopping the run, especially on early downs, force teams into, the Bills were not great on third down last year. You want to force teams into longer third downs, get the ball back to Josh Allen. They also have a new scheme. I am still wondering how that scheme, the players they have, fit with what they're doing up front. Sure, could Deion Walker play the nose? Yes. Is it the best fit for him? I don't know. I think he's better suited to be able to move around a little bit and not be on the nose. I think that's an area they have to concentrate on and get better at. I have been banging the drum for DJ Reader, as you know, for many years, but he's a guy that's been out there we've talked about that could fit that role. You know who Lance Zierlein compared Caden McDonald to? DJ Reader. I mean, like, this is the kind of player, to me, that fits right on this defense. He's not the only one there. I think Kristen Miller is an underrated name to keep an eye on, by the way. He's from Georgia. Kristen Miller. Peter Woods, Caleb Banks, Lee Hunter. These are pretty much the only top 5 guys at that position. But I think Miller could fit this role. But I think Caden McDonald, a first-team All-American, would exactly fit what the Bills need in this new defense. And you could just put him on the field. And no, he's going to be in a rotation. That's a D-line spot. But he's going to play. I don't believe edge rusher is going to play as much. And in my mock, like, there's most, the top edge rushers are gone. But even if there's a guy or two there you really like, I'm just not sure, as I've said before, with Greg Rousseau, now Bradley Chubb, Michael Hoyt coming back, like, the way they've talked about Javon Solomon, like, where and when is he going to play versus a guy like Caden McDonald? That's why I have the Bills taking Caden McDonald, defensive lineman, defensive tackle / nose guard from Ohio State.
The DJ Reader, by the way, met with the Giants. He's expected to sign with the Giants after the draft. He has not yet signed, which I would say, like, maybe go sign DJ Reader if if Caden McDonald's DJ Reader. But anyway, that position sale, of course, like, one to address. The thing I start to wonder about on this Bills defensive line in the front is, who gets squeezed out? They just drafted 3 defensive linemen last year, too, right? It's Walker and TJ Sanders and Landon Jackson. And then the year before, it's Dwayne Carter. And maybe the reason they haven't made that many additions up there is because they kind of know there's a bit of a numbers crunch.
Agreed. And I think they like their group, Jeremy. I think that's part of it, right? I do. I think they like the group they have. I just think that the group they have, the way you try to fit the puzzle together, you got to have a little bit of maybe a little more flexibility there, and to figure out what you want to do to put guys in their proper spots to be able to maximize what they do best. And Ed Oliver, he's a guy that I think you got to have over at the 4-eye or 3 technique. He's not going to play over the nose. You want him as a penetrator. And I think that's Deion Walker and TJ Sanders, definitely, but even Deion Walker. So I agree with you. The only addition they've made in the entire offseason and the entire front 7, by the way, is Bradley Chubb. I mean, you talk about D-line, interior, or edge. You talk about linebacker, one guy, Bradley Chubb. Like, I just think that's screaming to me that they're going to add now in the draft at that position because of this. Now, there are other areas you could say that they need. Okay, I love mock drafts for the exercise. I do. I really like, because you learn about players, you learn about team needs and fits. The thing I don't like about mock drafts, why I don't do a ton of them, is here we go, all of us talk about best player available. You don't draft for need. But what is a mock draft? You have to do it for need, really, right? That's what you have to do. Right. It doesn't make sense to say just best player available. We don't know. So that's why it's tough to say, in this situation, I would have no doubt, and I shouldn't say, I would not be surprised if, let's say Denzel Boston, Casey Concepcion are higher players on the Bills board than Caden McDonald. I wouldn't be surprised. And if they get there and one of those guys are there, I think either of those guys could fit on this team very easily.
Yeah. Going through edge a little bit too, Sal, because I saw you a little bit back and forth too on social media the last couple days about this as well. They've talked up Javon Solomon a lot, and if Hoyt's back healthy, I'm looking at snap counts last year, and that might be really tricky to do because we don't know fully what's the translation here, right? Because it's a different scheme, and is Rousseau going to always play outside, or will he sometimes kick inside? And what about outside linebacker versus DN? It's a little bit different, but Bosa played 560 snaps last year. Epinesa played 430. That is about 1,000 snaps that you are replacing. But if Michael Hoyt's healthy, Bradley Chubb and Michael Hoyt are playing 1,000 snaps. You could easily just plug those two in for that amount of work. I guess if they
I think Javon Solomon gets his snaps up now.
Right. He was at 195 last year, right? That could go up. That was only 19%. But if they did have a guy like that was number 1 on their board, because they've done some work on the edge rusher class, wouldn't it have to be, we talked about with Joe Marino earlier, the type of edge rusher that's that designated pass rusher, the guy that maybe wouldn't be a 3-down type of player. We're talking about you're going out there on 3rd and 10 because you're a pass rush specialist, maybe more than kind of an all-around type of guy.
Are you taking a guy like that in the first round?
That's why Joe Marino said earlier he doesn't love that idea, because that's something you could do in the 3rd round.
100%. If you're going to take a guy like that, so it's a great point, Joe, and I agree with you, and I agree with Joe. You have to think about, if you have no 2nd-round pick as it is. Now, I think best case scenario is they trade down, by the way. I do think that. I think that you get more bang for your buck, especially in this draft. It's not always true. to necessarily do that. I don't know. I just did the math on this. Did you guys see my tweet earlier? This morning I did the math on how many times Brandon Beane has traded up, stayed down, stayed put, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So in 9 originally scheduled draft picks for the first round, Brandon Beane has traded up 4 times. He's traded down once. That was when they got Keon Coleman, which they actually did twice in the same draft. But one time he's traded down out of that pick. 4 times up, and 1 time for Diggs. So you can kind of 5 times they've actually tried to get better at the spot they've been at. They don't trade down much. And I've always usually an advocate for trading down. I think in this draft, it's definitely the better scenario. I just don't know if you can get a team to do that. So in what you're saying, Joe, right? Like to me, if you stay at 26, I think you got to get a guy that at least is going to play for you. And this roster, it's a little tougher because this roster is good and they don't have many starting jobs open, if any, really. We could argue nose tackle for sure. We could argue left guard, no doubt. You need another wide receiver. But if you're going to get a guy at 26, I think it's got to be a guy that you can't wait on and just put in situational designated positions right now and be a rotational player, like to that degree.
Do you think, thinking about roles, like what's available for whoever this rookie is going to be, what position he plays, do you think that for a receiver, capability as a returner would really matter as to whether you would pick a guy in the first round? Like I know that could be true like anywhere else in the draft, especially like day 3. But do you think the Bills could see that as, well, this is another opportunity for a guy to get out on the field, and that's, would it just be a tiebreaker, or do you think that could really be how they would get to somebody at 26?
That was the word I was going to use as you were walking through the question.
Tiebreaker?
I think it's a tiebreaker.
Tiebreaker.
I think it's a tiebreaker. And actually, Joe, I asked Joe Brady the same question essentially at the Combine in a different way. Like, how important would it be to get a guy on this team who can do both so you don't have to use Khalil Shakir back there or use a roster spot on a guy? And his indication was to me that it's something they definitely are thinking about. Like, yes, in a perfect world, you do not want Khalil Shakir back there returning punts all the time, right? You have McCole Hardman on your team, and, we could say, well, he's not going to help. That's fine, but that is an option right now as another receiver to throw in the mix who can return, obviously. But I do think, Joe, that Casey Concepcion, to me, the reason why he's been more of the kind of likely guy than others is because of his return ability and the fact that they need a guy to be able to do that.
He's also, Sal, the only first-round-ish prospect that they brought in for a top 30 visit.
I know.
Right? Like, if you look at their top 30s, that it's a lot of second, third, fourth-round guys and 1 first. So, I mean, I think it's easy to say, like, maybe they have a plan, and he might be one guy they're willing to deviate for, but otherwise, they execute the plan.
Yeah, and you guys talked about Keon earlier. You know what I've said about this for a while. I just think that this comes down to what you feel about Keon Coleman in a lot of ways. If they feel that he's going to be totally fine and he's ready to put all of his missteps behind him or whatever, then I think it's far less likely. But if they have any question at all, I think it really brings receiver into play, and we're going to know the answer to that question maybe. If they draft a first-round pick receiver, I think we do know the answer to that question. If they don't, it doesn't mean that we know the answer necessarily. I would say this, though. Casey Concepcion doesn't get me as much there. If they took Denzel Boston, I think it's clearly it's a indictment on Keon Coleman because he's the same kind of player.
Yeah, I think. Well, yeah. I think what I've said this a bunch. Like, I think what Denzel Boston is what they thought Coleman would be.
Yes,
Boston's actually someone that might be able to do it more effectively. All right, Sal. What's your plan for today? What's the rundown for today?
You're down there, right? They got.
I'll be down there later this afternoon for sure.
Down there meaning one Bills Drive, by the way.
One Bills Live. So we've asked Brandon Beane before, what do you do like draft day? He's like, yeah, maybe go play golf or something. Everything's set, right? You're just like, if you're scrambling today, you're not doing it right. You got to have everything set. Kind of, same thing kind of for me. I'll get ready and prepare for, what the draft holds as the day unfolds, but kind of get ready to go down to One Bills Drive. And it's a different kind of day because of the Sabres, obviously. In the media room, they have 2 TVs. And in years past, we put an NHL or an NBA playoff game on. And my colleagues, we watch that. Then we watch the draft on the other TV. And I'm sure we're doing that tonight with the Sabres game. And then the draft coverage is going to be on WBEN, as you guys know. Yep. I'll be joining in. I'll be on WGR today, I think at 5 with Show Up in the Bulldog. And then I'll be down in the media room and getting ready. And we always usually hear from Brandon Beane in some capacity, maybe Joe Brady, we'll see. And then as the night goes on, we'll hear from them later on too.
Very good. Thank you, Sal.
You got it.
Sal Capaccio on the Western Hotline. Draft coverage again on WBEN. The Sabres game is here on WGR. Big night here in the Buffalo sports world. Jeremy and Joe, pick of the week when we return. And keep getting your phone calls in. 803-0550 on the Sabres, on the Bills. Join us here on WGR. I had a thought today pulling into the plaza here, into the building, which is, everybody loves trading down. And just imagine, you wake up, you're a GM in the NFL today, you wake up, and your first thought is, if I trade down, everyone will say I'm smart. That's it. That's all you have to do. You trade down, you get credit. No matter what. Almost no matter what.
Didn't they do it 2 years ago and not many people? Well, not as many people were saying that's smart.
Everybody says it's smart. They didn't get great value.
And they traded with the Chiefs.
Right.
There was a combination of you didn't get nearly anything.
That was
you
the
traded
big part
up
of
from
it.
round 4 to round 3, and you dealt with your number one rival.
Right.
That's the scenario where you're not getting a ton of, oh, wow, look at the Bills. Sharp.
That was the story. The story was trading down, and the Chiefs was the team that you traded down with in the Keon Coleman trade. And I drove in today thinking about that trade. Not even because of the Chiefs, but because when you get to the draft, everybody thinks more is better. And I understand why. There's a lot of randomness to the draft. What did that trade down produce? It produced Keon Coleman and Dwayne Carter.
Mm-hmm.
How's that gone? I traded down. I didn't have any difference between these receivers, so I took this one, and I moved up, and I got a better pick, and I took what? A guy that doesn't play either.
Right.
I traded down, I got two pieces that don't really play. What if instead of that they had traded up and gotten Brian Thomas Jr.? It would have been maybe panned, oh, wow, you gave away a fourth-round pick, or who knows? Like, that was a year where they went in, and they didn't have a third-round pick, and a lot of the conversation was that the GM wanted to get a third-round pick back. And I don't think that is a very good process to go into a draft saying, I don't have a third. I should like to get a third back. What is it about? Is it about just as many picks as possible? It could be. For some of you out there, it could be about that. Or is it about difference makers? I feel like what I want are difference makers for this team. And, that can be a defensive end. That can be Casey Concepcion. I've got my wide receiver train shirt on today. When I saw that in the closet, I thought it's wide receiver train polo.
We do have wide receiver train hats we're going to have to wear tonight.
Yes.
I'm going to have to remember to wear that.
I had a thought today pulling into the plaza here, into the building, which is, everybody loves trading down. And just imagine, you wake up, you're a GM in the NFL today, you wake up, and your first thought is, if I trade down, everyone will say I'm smart. That's it. That's all you have to do. You trade down, you get credit. No matter what. Almost no matter what.
Didn't they do it 2 years ago and not many people? Well, not as many people were saying that's smart.
Everybody says it's smart. They didn't get great value.
And they traded with the Chiefs.
Right.
There was a combination of you didn't get nearly anything.
That was
you
the big
traded
part
up from
of it.
round 4 to round 3, and you dealt with your number one rival.
Right.
That's the scenario where you're not getting a ton of, oh, wow, look at the Bills. Sharp.
That was the story. The story was trading down, and the Chiefs was the team that you traded down with in the Keon Coleman trade. And I drove in today thinking about that trade. Not even because of the Chiefs, but because when you get to the draft, everybody thinks more is better. And I understand why. There's a lot of randomness to the draft. What did that trade down produce? It produced Keon Coleman and Dwayne Carter. How's that gone? I traded down. I didn't have any difference between these receivers, so I took this one, and I moved up, and I got a better pick, and I took what? A guy that doesn't play either.
Right.
I traded down, I got two pieces that don't really play. What if instead of that they had traded up and gotten Brian Thomas Jr.? It would have been maybe panned, oh, wow, you gave away a fourth-round pick, or who knows? Like, that was a year where they went in, and they didn't have a third-round pick, and a lot of the conversation was that the GM wanted to get a third-round pick back. And I don't think that is very good process. Time for the pick of the week. Pick of the week brought to you by Riverfront Auto Sales. And the pick of the week at Riverfront is a stunning 2018 Audi SQ5. This performance SUV perfectly blends luxury with serious power. Don't miss your chance to win this elite ride. Visit Riverfront Auto Sales today. Drive home the Audi SQ5 before it's gone. 1379 Niagara Street. Online at riverfrontautosales.com. 886-1626. So yesterday in the Premier League, Manchester City beat Burnley, locking in Burnley's relegation. So 2 of the 3 teams in the EPL that will be relegated have been locked in. We know that Wolves and Burnley go down. And right now, Tottenham is on the chopping block. And if you're not an EPL fan, that's okay. If you are, you probably know the idea of a team as big as Tottenham going down is possibly the greatest thing to ever happen in sports. It would be great.
I can't fathom it.
5 games left. They got to get out of the relegation zone. They got work to do. That's the pick of the week, is all of Tottenham's remaining season.
They play Saturday at 10 against Wolves.
Good luck. Wolves. Good luck. Jeremy and Joe, wide open for you. Let's get a vibes-based segment for you guys. 803-0550. How you feeling on the draft on the Sabres coming up? Sally, you've got your latest mock draft up at WGR550.com. You decided to make it a personal attack on me by having a wide receiver run right in front of the Bills, which is fine. But take us through your methodology. You landed at Caden McDonald, defensive tackle out of Ohio State, who I know the Bills have been mocked to draft this position and this player many times, and you seem to like the fit.
Yeah. By the way, real quick, last year, pick 26 came in at 11:08 p.m. apparently. I'm looking now, if that is correct. So there we go. So, look, I go extensively into receiver and other areas that Bills fans would, I'm sure, want. And I love Casey Concepcion. Like, if he's there, the Bills take him, I think let's go. I mean, that is a really good fit for this team. I think I've said many times, like, he could definitely fit the return man role. He's a separator. He gets down the field. They need this. In my mock, I have 6 wide receivers going before the Bills select. And unfortunately, I have 3 of them right before the Bills select, as you point out, Jeremy, and one of them is Casey Concepcion. So I have then, how does the board look? Well, I'm not taking the 7th wide receiver at that point. That'd be Chris Bell. And I think the Bills absolutely have a need at interior defensive line. I've been hammering this drum for a few months now. And I just think the proof is in, or the clues are in, how they've operated or haven't operated. They have a new defensive coordinator. They've talked a lot about stopping the run, especially on early downs, force teams into – the Bills were not great on third down last year. You want to force teams into longer third downs, get the ball back to Josh Allen. They also have a new scheme. I am still wondering how that scheme, the players they have, fit with what they're doing up front. Sure, could Deion Walker play the nose? Yes. Is it the best fit for him? I don't know. I think he's better suited to be able to move around a little bit and not be on the nose. I think that's an area they have to concentrate on and get better at. I have been banging the drum for DJ Reader, as you know, for many years, but he's a guy that's been out there we've talked about that could fit that role. You know who Lance Zierlein compared Caden McDonald to? DJ Reader. I mean, like, this is the kind of player, to me, that fits right on this defense. He's not the only one there. I think Kristen Miller is an underrated name to keep an eye on, by the way. He's from Georgia. Kristen Miller. Peter Woods. Caleb Banks, Lee Hunter. These are pretty much the only top 5 guys at that position. But I think Miller could fit this role. But I think Caden McDonald, a first-team All-American, would exactly fit what the Bills need in this new defense. And you could just put him on the field. And no, he's going to be in a rotation. That's a D-line spot. But he's going to play. I don't believe edge rusher is going to play as much. And in my mock, like, there's most, the top edge rushers are gone. But even if there's a guy or two there you really like, I'm just not sure, as I've said before, with Greg Rousseau, now Bradley Chubb, Michael Hoyt coming back, like, the way they've talked about Javon Solomon, like, where and when is he going to play versus a guy like Caden McDonald? That's why I have the Bills taking Caden McDonald, defensive lineman, defensive tackle / nose guard.
Well, this is a point we made back with like the Coleman trade and the Worthy trade, and I want to do it here too. Like, if you drop from 26 to 34, there's only 8 spots. Maybe there's 10 players you like. Maybe there's 7 players you like. To me, the biggest thing about dropping 8 spots is that you give up control of the board. Now somebody can jump in front of you if you're kind of gambling to go down a bit. So, Joe, let me give me the short list. Give me 5 names, 4 names, 5 names. You can pick the number where they're on the board at 26, and it's not worth dropping down 8 spots. You mentioned Concepcion. You've been on Caden McDonald, defensive tackle, Ohio State. Is he still on that list? How about a 5-name list of guys that, if they're there, you're just going to say stick and pick?
If I'm being realistic, Jeremy, it's probably just KC Concepcion. It really is. Like, I would love to stick and pick Christian Miller. I'd be happy with Caden McDonald. I'd be happy with Malachi Lawrence. But I'd be more happy with the combination of players I can get at 34 and 65. Or, whatever it winds up being, 34 and 104 plus something. That's what it comes down to. So my do not trade away from realistic players. Like, of course, like Sony Styles is there. Something weird happened, right? But yeah, I think it's Concepcion, or else any other player I'd be more than satisfied trading back.
We're shipping up to Boston. The series tied 1-1 following the Sabres' loss on Tuesday. Head coach Lindy Ruff spoke with the media yesterday. No official lineup changes, but Ruff did say Noah Ostlund is a possibility for tonight. You'll be able to find that on demand at WGR550.com, just in case you missed it. Join Brian Koziel and Owen Parker live this Sunday from 11 to 2 at Hamburg Tap Room for pregame coverage of Game 4 and more, presented by Neutral Vodka Seltzer. Keep it tasty this playoff season. Some results from last night in the NHL playoffs. The Flyers beat the Penguins 5-2. Stars beat the Wild in double overtime 4-3. And the Ducks beat the Oilers 6-4. In the NFL, Cowboys executive vice president Stephen Jones confirmed that wide receiver George Pickens will play on the franchise tag this year, and there won't be talks for a long-term deal. Pickens does still need to sign the tag, and it's draft day. As round 1 will get underway in Pittsburgh at 8 p.m. tonight, coverage will begin at 7 p.m., but with Game 3 being tonight right here on WGR, Nate Geary, Derek Kramer, and Zach Jones will be covering the draft over on News Radio 930 WBEN. Again, coverage starts at 7. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Joe Cali for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
On the play fake. Late pressure coming into the end zone. Caught and touchdown by Concepcion.
Tigers back off. Reed tries to make a play in the move. Throws it end zone. Touchdown. KC Concepcion from 15 yards out.
Hey, everybody. Happy draft day. Jeremy and Joe, we've got some big happenings here in studio. 2 things we're about to do live.
I can smell. Okay, so if you're watching the stream,
I gotta hold on. I gotta move the. Move the camera. Oh, I'll go over here like this so people can see. We've got a brand new wide receiver big board up. I'm wearing my wide receiver train shirt.
Yeah.
Listen, I'll eat my vegetables and tell you can take defensive tackles a lot, and then when you get to draft day, I'm taking a receiver, baby. Let's go.
It's good to make sure that you read the top, because otherwise you would just read that as one.
KCC.
Like number 1, Kansas City Chiefs.
That's true. That's how we kill the prophecy, or whatever.
Draft our own KCC.
There are 2 receivers. One's name is Casey and one's name is Boston. So
the marker you used on that board. Okay, so I didn't know what it smelled like when you opened it.
So
the room is just like you just lit a candle.
If you're watching the stream, you're gonna get. So we had an old Sharpie, or sorry, we have a regular Sharpie that we had, and that didn't work. And then Joe picks up this marker. He goes, "How old is this?"
It was just in a cup.
And when he picked it up and showed it to me, I'm like, "Oh, I can smell that marker already." A Sharpie king size permanent marker, and I'm like, "Oh, that thing's gonna smell like gasoline." And sure enough, I wrote on the board, and this room smells. Here,
the whole
take
room.
it off. Take it off. Don't breathe too hard. You might
take it off again. I mean, it's good. I'm gonna pass out.
You might lose brain cells. Careful with that.
That's reportedly the smell that's been flooding the air the last 2 days.
Holy.
Those markers, I can absolutely just.
I think I can remember these a little bit from
memory, 100%.
Middle school or something. But how is it that pungent? I mean, I guess if it hasn't been opened in 10 years,
that's not why.
Well, that's what you don't think it's been storing up in there?
No. They smelled like that right out of the factory.
Man,
that's what markers used to smell like. More like that.
I mean, like someone just dumped some kerosene on the ground in here.
It's Sabres game day. It's NFL draft day. We will be at Brightsmith Brewing, Niagara Street. Great spot. Can't wait to be there. So come out, join us, hang, and we'll do that. The draft itself will be broadcast on BEN. There's also going to be a Game 4 watch party Joe Cali has been mentioning for the weekend. So what's the story on that?
So Sal Capaccio will be at Brightsmith, where we're going to be tonight, at 2 p.m. So, enjoy $5 drafts, half off select appetizers, $5 slap shots when the Sabres score. There's also going to be a DJ there, DJ Brando. So.
He's there tonight for us, too. So
yeah, cool.
The next 2 nights are watch parties or the next 2 games, I should say, at Brightsmith. So we'll see you there on, Sal will be there on Sunday. Maybe I'll pop by. And then tonight we'll be there, though. And it won't be that late. Doing the math, it should be 200 minutes before the Bills are on the clock, right?
Okay.
At the maximum. And we know they never use all the way to the maximum. It's 8 minutes times 25
True,
picks.
but there are some times where, the pick is in, we'll sit there for, 3 minutes, while they're at commercial.
Right, but the clock...
That might make up for
it. The clock keeps going no matter what. They don't pause the clock.
Okay.
Yes.
So even if I see on TV the pick is in, there is still a clock behind it.
The clock is ticking, yes.
Okay.
I remember this is different than the NHL draft. In the NHL draft, this might shock you, they don't run things all that well. They would not start the clock for the next team until announcements and pictures were done. Because when we had the draft here in Buffalo, it was the longest first round of all time. And, anyway, 803-0550 is our phone number. And 1-888-550-2550. We're going to get to shots of audio. Joe Kelly scouring the sports world for the best audio out there in a few minutes, but if you want to join us on either the Sabres or the Bills draft, we'll take your calls on it. All right, ready? The best case and worst case scenarios. Best case scenario tonight is
Sabres win.
Score, outcome, how it looks. You get to craft the perfect evening.
I'm going to die on this hill. I still think they are capable of blowing this team out in a game. Maybe it's just going to come down to, get the lead. Get out first, make them play that game, and then you can start to run away with it. The best case scenario is the Sabres win 5-0 comfortably, and the Bills sit at 26 and draft Casey Concepcion. That is the best case scenario for the night.
All right, there's yours.
What else would touch that? You want to say trading up for Carnell Tate?
No.
I think drafting everyone loves. Who doesn't love Casey Concepcion?
Everyone seems to, almost to a point that it makes you nervous.
Right. That's my whole thing with him has just been I don't buy that he's going to be there.
Yeah.
If everyone seems to love him this much. But the letter he wrote to GMs and talking about his stuttering problem at the combine, and I just think how could you not fall in love with the guy? And there's nothing wrong with the prospect other than drops. He could play outside. He could play inside. He gets open. He's the returner. He could be a returner, too. You want that? Yak, separation. His contested catch rate is good. Somehow, even though the drops are there. But, it's box check. Every single box is checked except this one that's maybe a little bit closer to the bottom, which is the drops. That guy is everybody's favorite. I can't see something they do tonight that people would like more.
Looking at the Bills' depth chart right now, and on defense, their starting defense, they have nobody at nose behind Deion Walker, who we all think probably won't play nose, right? Probably not. Fedarian Mathis and Dwayne Carter are second off the bench at those spots.
Maybe. Carter's small for the position, isn't he?
Carter is also coming off an Achilles, right?
I'm just not even betting on him making the team.
All right. Your linebackers, you're at Dorian Williams, Terrell Bernard. I mean, I guess Rousseau and Chubb here also in this new defense, but Joe Andreessen and Keonta Jenkins, Oh, did we ever pay out our linebacker or running back bet?
No, I mean,
I'm making $10. Is it? How much was it for? $10.
Let's wait till they officially draft it.
All right, because they're going to take a linebacker before they take a running back. If they take a running back, we ride.
Okay, there's a guy we need to talk about for just a second here.
Okay, it's just the guy
because I did see a mock draft. I think it was Lance Lysowski in the last few minutes where the Bills did pick this person. There is a player,
Arkansas running back. Is that who it is? Who is it?
From Navy. Eli, I think it's
Heidenreich.
Heidenreich.
Yeah.
He is officially listed. Well, it depends where you look.
I'm leaving.
Some places he's listed as a running back.
I'm walking out of the room.
Other places he's listed as a fullback.
I'm walking.
The Bills lost Reggie Gilliam. I'm asking. You could tell me. You could say no. If the Bills draft this guy, he wouldn't be round 1. If they draft this guy, what does he count as? Do I win the bet?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. He's a running back. He would be.
But wouldn't they be drafting him as a fullback?
No, he's a much later pick. He's not.
We're talking day 3,
and he's 200 pounds.
I know. I'm just saying he's listed officially. I've seen as a fullback
at Navy, where they roster 10 fullbacks and a quarterback. No,
true.
Yeah. Heidenreich is a Christian McCaffrey comp. Because he's a white running back, is that why primarily the number one reason?
Part of it. No, there's athletic traits where he's on a list with 5 other guys, and McCaffrey's one of them.
Could they do it and say he's not a running back, he's a weapon? Sure,
right.
They could do that.
You Google him and it immediately comes up. He is the Google AI thing. He's a NFL draft prospect who played a hybrid fullback, wide receiver, running back role. Yeah, he'll be described as offensive weapon by whichever GM he gets drafted by.
Just don't draft a player and tell me to think of that player like something else. That's my best case scenario tonight.
If the Bills don't go linebacker because it just never falls for them and they pick a fullback in the 6th round, I lose that bet, though?
Yeah, fullback does not count.
Fullback doesn't count.
Plus, they're taking a linebacker on the first.
Just trying to find a way to bet. There's no way I win this bet unless it's some backdoor craziness like that because they're not just going to pick a straight up. They're not going to pick a straight up running back.
No. 803-0550, get some calls and then get to shots of audio here. It's draft day. Sean on Long Island. Hey, Sean.
Hey, guys. Good morning. How are you? Happy Sabres Day and draft day to you both. Just wanted to bang something off you guys. It's going to be ridiculous, and you guys will probably get a good chuckle out of it. But
let's get stupid? Is it let's get stupid caliber?
Real stupid. But I don't know if it really even makes sense. Is there anybody in this draft, okay, first off, is there anybody in the draft that would be worth this, and is there anybody that would actually do it because would it carry enough weight? If the Bills said, hey, team, hey, Jets, hey, Browns, here's next year's first. We want Carnell Tate that badly because, Josh, we got to start the clock here. We can't take another year of just, we got to get a sure thing in, and we need it this year. Would next year's first carry any significance in moving up that far? And is there any player that would even justify that?
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Sean. Let's get stupid with this. Let's make it about Tate, who in Sal's mock draft, Tate made it all the way to 13 to the Rams.
Yes.
Good times. There's a funny little thing about the market and the draft, and I love the draft, and we all love the draft, and we all kind of know the draft is amazing and stupid at the same time, right? But also the lifeblood of your franchise and the place where dreams go to die. Anyway, let's say, hypothetically, the Bills were prepared to trade a future first for Carnell Tate.
Mm-hmm.
Or make it David Bailey. Doesn't even matter. You call the team at 5. Future first, they say no. You call the team at 6. Future first, they say no. 7, 8, 9, 10. At what point when that player gets to 17, now my call, I'm offering less. Am I not? I can't give you a future first to go up 9 spots. Even though it's the same net result. I was prepared to give up a first to get this player. I got turned down 10 times. Now I'm in a different spot, and that team says, we'll do it for a first. How many GMs in that spot would say, well, I can't give you a first. I'm only coming up 10 spots now. What are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
You were ready to buy it now for that price, and now you're offering a second?
And you're actually getting it. You're getting the player for less money because of the contract value.
Right.
This is also part of the plot of the movie Draft Day. Is the contract part of it?
It's a thing.
Yeah.
It's a thing about trading up and trading down. I feel like I feel like I'm alone in this. I think trade down love is out of control, and trade up fear is out of control. Based on positional value and all this, would you trade a future first round pick? If you could, if you're the Vikings, imagine if you could do this like you do in the NBA. Would the Vikings trade a first-round pick to drop Justin Jefferson's contract to a rookie contract? Yes. Of course they would.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But I can't give that up for a player that would be on that kind of contract because that's spending too much. The amount of grief that the Bengals got for trading the 10th overall pick for Dexter Lawrence to me was nuts. I thought it was a great trade for them. He's a elite player on a very reasonable contract. And a lot of people, looking at the top 10, thought, I don't really know what Cincinnati should do here. What should they take? There might only be 8, 9 blue chippers in this draft, so why don't you go ahead and get Dexter Lawrence? I think it's a great idea for them. They're not rebuilding. Who is? The Giants are.
Right.
Of course, the 10th pick should mean something different to the Giants than it does to the Bengals, and Dexter Lawrence means something different to the Giants than he does to the Bengals. I just feel like so many GMs and so many teams are so afraid of doing something, and they are at the mercy of the mock draft community and the trade community, the trade down hive, crushing them for value. The last time the Bills traded down, as Sal pointed out, Beans traded up a bunch in the first round and traded down only one time. The one time he traded down, he got 2 players, neither of which are we feeling all that good about. Well, you got 2. You moved up. You got Coleman and Dwayne Carter. Great.
Yeah.
What's the result for you? And if the trade value chart, I'm really going here, I'm sorry. If the trade value chart is to be treated like gold, these values make sense, then there would be no differentiation between up and down. If it's even on the chart, 500 points this way, 500 points that way, then you would have to subscribe to the idea that a trade up is just as reasonable as a trade down. Right? I changed you dollars for dollars. 500 points this way, 500 points that way. Why is it bad going one way and good going the other way if we say the values are the same? Help. Anybody got it? We're just too addicted to saying trading down is good. Everyone is addicted to it. Make the case. If the values are the same, make the case.
It's hard to. It's 4 quarters for $1.
Right. Oh, well, I've got more actual coins in my hand than I did before. Oh, great.
All right.
Congratulations. I understand the concept. I think it's gone too far.
Yeah. There also is the who is next year's first more valuable to? The Bills or especially team that needs a quarterback? Because that's the starting point of next year's draft class is better than this year's. Is you got 7 guys that could go in the first round. What will that ultimately probably end up being? 4 or 5? Because a couple of those guys will have bad years, and 7 will get down to 4 or whatever. But next year's quarterback class is loaded. So why wouldn't I be calling teams that would value that pick on an extreme level more than I would? Because that's the need they have that I don't have. That is all uber valuable above all the rest. The problem is, if you wanted to go down this road that Sean brought up, you want to trade a future first, and you want to go get as high as you can, get a Carnell Tate, how far do you think you can reasonably go? Where is 9 not a reasonable starting place for, that is the you're not getting further than the 9th pick from 26.
It all depends on what that team is willing to drop back.
Right.
The Bills, when they traded out of the Mahomes spot, dropped 17 picks.
But let me try to find the quarterback needy team that's going to want picks the first next year so they could do that and is going to get me into that territory. Let me start with the 9th pick. I'll read you off the quarterbacks for these teams that I'm going to call them with this idea. The Chiefs, Mahomes. Jackson Dart. Nope. Miami. Maybe, but they're in the division. Dak Prescott at 12. Matthew Stafford at 13. You could think the Rams.
Maybe.
Lamar Jackson at 14. Baker Mayfield at 15. The Jets at 16. Division. Jared Goff at 17. 9 to 17, none of those teams, all those teams have good quarterbacks right now, except for 2, and they're both in your division. And we did talk way early in the draft process about the idea of going to 11 where Miami is. Basically, if you want an idea that aggressive where I'm willing to trade a 2027 first-round pick, you're going to be targeting teams that need quarterback, and the only ones you're really finding in that range are teams in your division. So are you comfortable with that? It's the only way you're doing it.
Right.
Unless, again, could the Rams do it? No, right? The Rams are not trading back 15 spots to think about next year's quarterback class, are they? Aren't they just going to sit there and take
Especially
Mekhi
because
Lemon?
This feels like a free first-round pick to them because it's
Atlanta, right. Yeah. So, you don't really have that. I don't know who your dance partner is for this idea. Mm-hmm. Unless you can get 2 divisional teams working
It's
together.
also here we are where the general the general belief system is you can trade up if it's for a quarterback. Oh, okay. Only a quarterback? That's it? Okay. I've got two other positions, wide receiver and edge, where the best of the best are now fetching $50 million. I can't trade up for that guy too? It's only quarterback? Quarterback is one.
Well, of course, though, what is also baked in there is the risk factor of the guy not ending up being a guy that's worth a tier 1 contract. Marvin Harrison Jr. was supposed to be that.
That's true.
And so far, he does not look like a player that's going to command $45 million in a couple of years.
That's right. But which position is more reliable at the top of the draft? Is it receiver or is it quarterback?
Oh, like in how often you hit on it?
Right.
Oh, it's receiver.
And not only that, what if I'm operating as a team that has a quarterback? Like that's here too. I'm allowed to trade up 17 spots in a future first at a coin flip. I am not allowed to do it if it's at a position like defensive end, which again, the Falcons just did this with James Pierce, but they did it without a quarterback. Defensive end, receiver, you should be doing that if you have the quarterback. The insurance policy is there. I don't know, the Chiefs and Bengals and Ravens all just had bad seasons where they pick high.
All I'm saying is there is another. I mean, this was the Diggs trade, right? Like there is another element here that is how likely are you to hit on it, and it is higher than quarterback. But it was a good team for this. Like take the Chargers for example. The Chargers want to go big at receiver. They want one more guy. They don't love Quentin Johnston. All right, we got two ideas. Should we trade our first and move from 22 and go up to 11 and draft Carnell Tate? Because he's cheap, but we're also not 100% sure how good this player is. Or do we want to just take that first-round pick, and do we want to just go get George Pickens? What's the better idea?
Tate.
Because Pickens is going to be expensive, but I know that dude is amazing, and I know he's amazing right away. Tate, I'm going to have some risk factor of, he's not actually as good as we thought he was.
Tate's the better idea.
All the time?
Yep. Tate's the better idea. Pickens is mercurial and unreliable.
I'm using Pickens just because he's the best player that could be available right now. A.J. Brown. Does that make it different? Like, what I mean is, if you could get a guy with your first-round pick that you just know is great, you could put him in, and that's the Diggs trade.
Yeah.
Like, another version of the Diggs trade. You can find me in a scenario where I would say, I'm in a position as a team. The Bills are not this team because of where they are. They're almost basically in cap jail. So the Bills aren't this team. But you could find me a team that's ready to contend where I could absolutely defend the idea of, go spend your first on the superstar expensive receiver rather than take the risk on the top receiver prospect.
8030550. Fun conversation.
I mean, New England is this, isn't it? Like, should New England, if this Brown trade is almost there, should New England say to Philadelphia, kick rocks because we're going to trade our first and go get Carnell Tate? Or should they?
They should definitely do that.
They shouldn't just grab A.J. Brown, who's right now one of the best receivers in football.
Yeah, they should definitely do that. I mean, by the way, you know who they might trade? Kayshon Boutte might get traded.
Because they're going to have...
Too bad he's in the division, because that'd be a good idea.
Because they're going to have Romeo Doubs and A.J. Brown and... Who do they still have? Douglas.
You know what it would take tomorrow? Is Keon Coleman not in the lineup and Kayshon Boutte in the lineup? You want a field stretcher? That's Kayshon Boutte. He's the best deep ball receiver in the league. He's one of them.
You want to trade in division, though?
I'm
sorry, I would want to.
That's the thing.
Are they
you probably can't get that guy, but Kayshon Boutte, like, if he got moved, I'd like that just fine. But I've been a Kayshon Boutte truther for a couple of years now.
I think if I were New England, I'd rather have A.J. Brown. I got the rookie quarterback contract. I just made the Super Bowl, and I probably wasn't that great anyway. I'm trying to win the Super Bowl this year, and I don't have time to wait to see how good Carnell Tate is.
You wouldn't have to wait. He'd just come in and
Well, he might be.
Maybe.
Or what if he's Marvin Harrison Jr.? That's a good player, but I would have way rather had A.J. Brown. And A.J. Brown's going to help me win a Super Bowl today.
8030550. The thing about Marvin Harrison Jr. is, of course, he went to a team that doesn't have a very good quarterback, and whatever. He's not gone. It's not
Maybe.
gone. It's not gone perfect for him, but it's certainly not over for him.
But we also just saw another receiver on that team go nuclear down the stretch. Like it was possible. Michael Wilson did it.
He's up for a contract too. All right, 8030550. Dominic, what's up, Dominic? Good morning.
Hey, how's it going, guys? Thanks for taking my call.
Thanks for calling.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, basically, I'm 100% with you with the KC Concepcion for Josh Allen. Like, I just feel like the best comparison, for my opinion, on the Bills and Josh Allen is like, he's the top employee that for doing well, you just give him more work, as opposed to rewarding him. And then, like, you kind of let everyone else skate by. So I just feel like they finally got to reward him. And, I mean, I know they tried with Keon, but that didn't work, obviously. But you just got to get him more help on offense. So I'm 100% receiver, best receiver available within reason. I haven't paid much attention to all the receivers if they're terrible, obviously. Even if they're best available, don't take him. But I just think they got to get Josh Allen help. Reward the guy for being the reason your franchise is the juggernaut that they are. And the only other thing I was going to say is I'm 100% Team Lion to start today. UPL is just too prone to the yips, and he's shown that in Game 1, Game 2. He made some big saves, but he also let in not great goals. And that's about it, guys. Have a good day. Go Sabres. Go Bills. Thanks for taking my call again.
Thanks, Dominic.
Thanks, Dominic.
DJ Moore's existence matters. Like, I'm not glossing past that. When they signed Josh Palmer, we didn't forget about Josh Palmer. They traded for DJ Moore. We've not forgotten they've traded for DJ Moore. Their wide receiver group is in much, 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 much better shape.
Yeah. Am I? What's happening maybe between what the Bills did a couple of years ago when they did draft a receiver and where the position was leading into that draft versus now? I almost want to set it up as I wonder if it's just because we were picking apart those receivers more. But all the guys that have been talked about that will be in the range for the Bills: Denzel Boston, Omar Cooper, KC Concepcion.
Maybe Chris Brazzell goes because he's all of a sudden moved up into the early second or maybe somewhere in the first in some mocks.
But beyond that, these guys, like, their flaws don't scare me. And I'm not afraid of them. Whereas when the Bills were in the market for receiver and they did pick Coleman, I remember, like, Worthy. Like, I ended up liking Worthy by the end of it, but it was, can this guy translate to the NFL at his size? And with Coleman, it was separation.
Can he get open?
And I remember with Xavier Legette being afraid of him because of how old he was. And, like, the guy didn't play well in college until he was 5 years older than everybody. And McConkey, is he going to be able to play on the outside? He did end up being able to, but I remember being afraid of him a little bit. Adonai Mitchell, like, I had these fears of all these receivers that I am not having right now of this class. But again, I'm even acknowledging that could just be
analysis amount.
Picking apart those receivers and everybody doing that for months versus it's not happening to the same degree, I think, with this class. But again, that could also be they don't have as many flaws. What's Mark Cooper's flaw?
Want me to tell you?
Sure.
Okay, hold on. Let me get it.
Like, we know with Concepcion, it's
the
drops.
Scouting report I've got on him for you.
We know with, Tyson, it's injury.
With Concepcion, it's drops, and it's also catch radius, which I don't really care about catch radius.
Fair, right? Yeah, me neither.
Like, I think it's catch radius is all something people talk themselves into sometimes.
Cooper's is probably more the downfield route running.
For Cooper, it's a lot of how will he be used. He was on the outside 2 years ago, but last year is nearly exclusively slot.
Right.
But
but you had that year a couple years ago where he was moving around.
I have said many, many times, Twitter here, Omar Cooper, I think the Bills will love him.
Mm-hmm.
A Joe Brady style of receiver. Debo comparisons, run after catch, tackle breaking machine, solid route runner against man. I think they could love Cooper. All these conversations, though, they hinge on the idea that what are they going to do about Coleman? Are they going to trust him? And they talk a big game about it. Shots of audio when we return. It's a Sabres game night. Sabres game here on GR. Draft coverage on BEN. Let's have a good night, one way or the other. Come to our draft party. We'll be at Brightsmith Brewing. Go to brightsmithbrewing.com for your tickets to attend and party with us. I had a thought today pulling into the plaza here, into the building, which is, everybody loves trading down. And just imagine, you wake up, you're a GM in the NFL today, you wake up, and your first thought is, if I trade down, everyone will say I'm smart. That's it. That's all you have to do. You trade down, you get credit. No matter what. Almost no matter what.
Didn't they do it 2 years ago and not many people? Well, not as many people were saying that's smart.
Everybody says it's smart. They didn't get great value.
And they traded with the Chiefs.
Right.
There was a combination of you didn't get nearly anything.
That was
you
the big
traded up
part of
from
it.
round 4 to round 3, and you dealt with your number 1 rival.
Right.
Like that's the scenario where you're not getting a ton of, oh, wow, look at the Bills sharp.
That was the
draft.
story. The story was trading down, and the Chiefs was the team that you traded down with in the Keon Coleman trade. And I drove in today thinking about that trade. Not even because of the Chiefs, but because when you get to the draft, everybody thinks more is better. And I understand why. There's a lot of randomness to the draft. What did that trade down produce? It produced Keon Coleman and Dwayne Carter.
Mm-hmm.
How's that gone? I traded down. I didn't have any difference between these receivers, so I took this one, and I moved up, and I got a better pick, and I took what? A guy that doesn't play either.
Right.
I traded down, I got 2 pieces that don't really play. What if instead of that they had traded up and gotten Brian Thomas Jr.? It would have been maybe panned, oh, wow, you gave away a 4th-round pick, or who knows? Like, that was a year where they went in, and they didn't have a 3rd-round pick, and a lot of the conversation was that the GM wanted to get a 3rd-round pick back. And I don't think that is a very good process to go into a draft saying, I don't have a 3rd. I should like to get a 3rd back. What is it about? Is it about just as many picks as possible? It could be. For some of you out there, it could be about that. Or is it about difference makers? I feel like what I want are difference makers for this team. And, that can be a defensive end. That can be Casey Concepcion. I've got my wide receiver train shirt on today. When I saw that in the closet, I thought it's wide receiver train polo.
We do have wide receiver train hats we're going to have to wear tonight.
Yes.
I'm going to have to remember to wear that.
I wonder 2 things. I wonder, of course, who Lindy goes with tonight, and then I wonder if they lose and how they lose will matter. Will Lindy's tone change at all? I still find the way he talked about Game 2 to be interesting, odd, different than what he normally would be. It was such a soft hand about that loss, a game in which it didn't look like they played very well really at all. Well, the urgency was not there, and he's like, oh, they got a little lucky, and, it happens. I just thought, or I think I should say, that if the same game happened again, I'd want him to be sounding a little more upset about it.
I think you want to be careful not to assume what he said to the media is what he said to the players.
Oh, I wouldn't assume that it's the exact same, but I guess the players just don't want that to be public. He doesn't have to go.
He doesn't need it to be public because he knows this is sort of the fan base is doesn't know how this all goes right now.
That's right.
We're all the sky is falling.
We're
after
reacquainting ourselves.
Or Game 2. Mm-hmm. And so I think there's a little bit of it that's like, all right, let me just cool this off.
Yeah.
We won one game that we should have won. We lost one game we should have lost. The series is where the series should be. Nobody deserves anything more or less than they've got right now. So I'm not going to get out here and tear my players up in front of the media after they lose their first playoff game. Let me have the talk with them and tell them why they weren't good enough tonight, which, that's his job. That is what he does. So there's no way he didn't do that. So I think the message in the media is more about sort of trying to control the narrative a little bit. Mm-hmm. And that's a veteran coach understanding he's got a young team that's doing this for the first time. And so that's why I didn't have much of a problem with or even really think much at all about how he sounded after Game 2. I just thought it was, I'm going to do this thing because I think it's right to take probably a little bit of pressure off my guys because they are probably feeling it. They just lost their first playoff game. Mm-hmm. They probably feel horrible right now. And they don't need to feel any worse than they do. So let me not pour gasoline on that fire and let them, take what I tell them in the room and go with that. And I'll get out here and we'll deal with it.
Totally fair, yeah.
comes, kept in by Hess. Penalty coming up to Philadelphia. In front, they score!
That was 20 years ago yesterday, Danny Briere in overtime of Game 1. I've got a maybe not that funny story, but I'll tell you anyway. I've said many times, told the story that game I was at a wedding, my college buddy's wedding in Massachusetts. So remember what I said to you. I remember the day before, their anniversary is tomorrow. And I said I should text them the day before. And you said, you got to wait till the anniversary day. So I did. What happened? Somebody else in the group chat beat me to it. So I looked like I didn't remember.
Yeah.
And then
you've been reminded by the by the original.
And my buddy told me, he said in the group chat that they were watching the wedding video from 20 years ago. And in the wedding video, as we're like cleaning up the next morning, I apparently said, we should pretend to clean up. That way in 20 years, we'll watch the video and everyone will think that we helped clean up. 20 years later, he's like, yeah, you said that in the video. So now we know you didn't clean up. So, Anyway, 20 years ago, Danny Briere.
Double overtime.
Double.
There hasn't been a double overtime. Oh, wait.
They lost
Joe
to
Corvo.
They also lost to the Rangers in double overtime in Game 4.
One of those Rangers games was double overtime?
In New York. I'm pretty sure it was double overtime.
Okay.
I remember where I watched that, at one of the many BWs.
Game 3.
Double overtime. Girardi? No, not Girardi. Michael Roosevelt.
Yes.
Michael Roosevelt.
Yeah.
Double overtime, Rangers.
Michael Roosevelt. Briere tied it in the third.
Danny Briere scored all of their big playoff goals.
Right.
Drury
scored one of them.
True. That's true.
Actually, Drury or Briere. Drury scored. Well, what are Drury's? He's Game 5 against the Rangers, and then Game 1 overtime against the Senators. Right. Briere's got Game 1 double OT against the Flyers. Briere's got Game 6 against Carolina. I mean, Briere's numbers are crazy, for his career in the playoffs. I think he's well above a point a game. He had, and that includes Philly when they go to the Cup. He ended up below, but only because the last couple years of his career, he wasn't quite there. 116 points in 124 career playoff games. 116 career playoff points.
Pretty good.
Wow.
Shots of audio. Let's do it. Joe Kelly takes over. We do our shots of audio. It's brought to you by Outlet Liquor. When it's time to stock up, it's the place to buy a case. What's your outlet? Mr. Joe Kelly, take us away with the best audio in the sports world.
All right. Sounds good. I'll get the music up here in just a moment. But starting off first, all the interviews from Bean and Joe Brady, all those guys, there was one moment that was pretty interesting to me. Using AI for the prospects. And what player could he be talking about here?
These are the guys that we're pretty sure there's less than 1% chance are going to be there, barring something, a gas mask or something popping up. So if you guys want to put any players that are really talented, something out there using AI to help us get them, we'll take them.
What player could he be talking about there?
I don't necessarily love the idea of hey guys, go make fake videos of these guys doing terrible things so that they follow us.
It's a little bit of a
let's steal millions of dollars from these gentlemen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's an interesting comment there coming through. But now up next, staying with the NFL draft, Jordan Tyson. He was in an interview being asked about playing in New York, and his response is going to hit home for anyone around here.
What are your thoughts on playing in New York? Have you ever experienced New York City and playing under those bright lights?
Isn't it Jersey, technically?
Wow.
Draft him.
The sound you hear right now is the Mafia saying, receiver one.
Receiver.
Jordan Tyson said they play in New Jersey. That's our guy.
Yes. Chanting from the back, receiver one.
He's already got, one New York team ready to go.
Jordan Tyson's arc on this draft has been hilarious. It's been mid-first, late first, maybe fifth. That's been the arc for him.
Fifth overall.
Yeah, maybe fifth overall.
Right, to the Giants.
Mid-first to late first, worked out one time. Fifth.
Right. One shred of evidence that his hamstring is intact and okay, he's a top 5 pick and he's the best receiver in the class.
I guess so.
All right.
We'll see what happens. But yeah, bunch of Bills Mafia behind him there. Rob Ray is the next one. Talking about the referees the other night, mid-game. He also was in the middle of a scuffle and said he might have to suit up at another point as well. So this one was earlier in the game, though.
Yeah, I hope the referees' moms aren't listening because the crowd is really being hard on them.
In the middle.
The old ref, you suck chant.
They were loud.
That was very loud in the first period, especially.
I feel like you shouldn't be making enemies with the refs that early, but that's okay. No, I'm sure.
You're putting pressure on them.
One other thing. Jeremy Swayman was talking about how 20,000 people chanting his name. What's it like? And he said it's part of the experience. And then he said that it's kind of cool, a kid from Alaska having 20,000 people chant my name, which got me to thinking, I always feel this way, no matter who the goalie is and no matter who the team is. Chanting the goalie's name before he's given up a goal, I don't love it.
Yeah,
I feel like when
it was right off the opening faceoff.
Right.
Yeah.
You got to let him give one up.
Listen, if it's a very chantable name and it's very fun to get on a goalie when they give up a bad goal. If he's given up one, if he's given up two, you get on him. But it's 12 minutes into the first and it's 0-0. I don't think you're really doing much.
Yeah.
That's me. You haven't scored yet.
I had that one time in Amarillo. My dad still talks about this story, but they chanted my name, and it was only after goals, if I'm remembering right. Maybe it was just a start, but I remember even after the goals, them chanting the name, I was like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. They know your name.
I'm just like, that it feels pretty good.
They looked at the program. They're like, well, let's get on this guy.
I matter enough that they want to, yell at me.
Right.
That's
They're not chanting that other guy, the third line center's name. They're getting after you.
Right.
They don't remember. They don't boo nobodies. That's the thing, right?
See, I liked when Nashville, when they were making their run to the Stanley Cup Finals, and their crowd was super into it. They wouldn't just chant the goalie's name. They also would wait until there was a goal scored, and the Nashville fans would chant, like if it was Swayman, it would be, Swayman, Swayman, you suck, it's all your fault, it's all your fault.
Yeah.
That was good.
In high school, we used to do
This is good, too.
It's
I
all
think
your
that was
fault.
better.
It's all your fault, I feel like, is a good one, too.
Mm-hmm.
It is. Yeah,
Right.
that one will get you going, too.
It's not applicable, though, if you're not scoring until the third period, though, for most of the game.
Is there an ability for either of the Sabre goalie names going on the road now? Luukkonen is...
Luukkonen. I don't know.
That's tough. 3 syllables.
Yeah.
Lion, a little bit more, right?
Kind of.
If Boston fans wanted to do it tonight and it was Lion,
just
be
hold
a
out
little
the
better.
lie part of his name. Do like the Swayman type chant there.
Would they Bronx cheer Luukkonen if there's a clearing? If he starts tonight?
Well, that happened here
at the Sabres game. Yeah, Luukkonen got Bronx cheered in Buffalo.
I had a reaction to that because I'm like, really?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how many people it would have taken to hear it. There weren't enough Bruins fans in the crowd, so it wasn't like it was just Bruins fans.
No, it was
I saw six Bruins fans in the entire arena.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Could hear it on the MSG broadcast, not the ESPN broadcast, because those are different mixes. But the final one, we're staying with the NHL playoffs here. From Vegas and the Mammoth game, the referee was hot mic'd here in a pretty funny moment.
Utah penalty number 53, 2 minutes for unsportsmanlike.
Well, you heard it there.
I like it.
I warned you. Screaming across the ice.
That's awesome. I warned you. It's like a threat.
Yeah.
He's about to come get that guy.
Dished out the unsportsmanlike and then dropped that.
Yeah,
so,
that's pretty hardcore.
Yeah. Shots of Audio, powered by Outlet Liquor. When you need to stock up, it's the place to buy a case.
That was in Utah, Colorado?
Utah, Vegas.
Utah, Vegas. Did you see the scruffle?
Go for it.
That works.
I like
between Konechny and Rust last night? In Pittsburgh, Philadelphia?
Terrible.
I did not.
Am I wrong, or did Rust try to stomp on Konechny's leg?
He 100% tried to stop on his leg.
Because if that is true, I only saw the one camera angle, and maybe I'm wrong. It looked like to me he tried to cut his leg off.
That is
which, if that's the case, that dude should be suspended for the rest of the season.
100% correct.
And if he's not, he's going to get murdered in the next game.
Because Konechny got up after that happened. I thought it looked like Konechny then was trying to kick him, like I assume in response.
Right.
Like, what the heck? You kick me,
doing?
I'll kick you. And then Konechny got up and like, all right, let's go. And Russ turned away.
Right.
skated back to the bench, wouldn't drop the gloves.
I don't see the part where he's trying to step. I see where Konechny is kicking Rust's leg out.
Right before that, Rust, like, his left leg is up in the air, and he comes down hard, and he misses. Like, he doesn't hit his leg.
Huh.
But it looked to me like this dude was trying to stomp on his shin.
Yeah, it's really bad. I hated that play. I saw that too and was like,
I almost can't believe, though, that, like, something's missing here, because a hockey player, like, you've got skates on your feet. Who does that in the sport ever? You're not using your foot as a weapon.
You can't do that.
No. That's why I almost got to believe it's because it does horrible.
Look really bad.
It looks horrible. If I were the Department of Player Safety, I'm at least giving that dude a call today. Like, all right, what happened here? Because if you tried to do this, you are out. Like, you're not allowed to play in my sport anymore if you're trying to stomp on someone's leg with your skate.
They're going to call him and be like, no. Don't do that. That's bad.
I warned you.
They're going to do the ref thing.
No.
I warned
and then
you.
hang up the phone with no penalty.
Real quick, you said something to me about the other day in Pittsburgh. I went into this series not caring at all who won. I have no goodwill towards Philadelphia as a sports town at all. Something about when I watch Penguins Flyers in the playoffs always gets me to hate the Penguins. I don't know what it is. When they played in 2012, this happened. 18, I think it's Crosby. I think it's the embellishment he had last night.
Yeah.
And he used to do that early in his career all the time, and it always drove me nuts. And, like, there was that play last night. Like, he got touched ever so slightly on the chin, and he goes down like he got shot.
Yeah.
Like, maybe it's him.
Did you see the fan in the box after that was looking at him like, come on? And he looked over and started smirking like he knew, like, oh, I got caught.
Yeah.
I was being being a little prick.
803-0550 is our phone number. Extendo Sports, and then off to the Northtown Automotive Extra Point Show. What a day we have ahead of us. What are we gonna do while we're waiting? It's nice outside. Go hit some golf balls.
You probably could golf today.
You probably could.
I mowed the lawn yesterday.
So did I.
Yeah.
So did I.
I'm like, it's dry enough.
Felt good.
Actually, I thought I'll wait one more day because I'm like, it's probably not dry enough. Give the sun another, 20 hours here. And then I saw everybody else mowing their lawn. I'm like, okay, it must be fine.
You got to make sure you don't wait too long because then you get where it's so long that the mower, you're going like 3 feet at a time and lifting up the deck.
I had to empty out the bag seven times mowing the lawn.
Hate it when the mower's just like, lift it up, back and forth, lift it up. Like the grass is wet and chewy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want that. And I've got one of these little rinky-dink electric mowers that...
I got an electric mower, but it's a...
I bought like the rinkiest, dinkiest electric mower with the battery. Okay. It's fine. It does the job, but there are times where you wish you had a little more cutting power.
You should get one of those push mowers, like the ones that just...
It's a push.
No, I know, but like it's not electric. It's not... It's just like...
Oh, yeah. The old...
What do you call those? The old school ones. It's like a circle.
Like a rotary phone?
Yeah.
What are those called? Hand mowers?
Is it just a rotary mower?
Yes. I have no idea.
It sounds right.
Look at all the interesting things you could talk.
You're the old guy on the show. I mean, this should be your department.
True. It is called a rotary mower. You could talk about all these things with us at the draft party tonight. Doesn't that sound so exciting? What time are you getting there? I'm getting there like 6.
Yeah, I'm certainly well before the Sabre game starts.
I can't wait. Gonna have a good time at Brightsmith. Hope to see you there. Sally, you've got your latest mock draft up at WGR550.com. You decided to make it a personal attack on me by having a wide receiver run right in front of the Bills, which is fine. But take us through your methodology. You landed at Caden McDonald, defensive tackle out of Ohio State, who I know the Bills have been mocked to draft this position and this player many times, and you seem to like the fit.
Yeah. By the way, real quick, last year, pick 26 came in at 11:08 p.m. apparently. I'm looking now if that is correct. So there we go. So, look, I go extensively into receiver and other areas that Bills fans would, I'm sure, want. And I love Casey Concepcion. Like, if he's there, the Bills take him, I think let's go. I mean, that is a really good fit for this team. I think I've said many times, like, he could definitely fit the return man role. He's a separator. He gets down the field. They need this. In my mock, I have 6 wide receivers going before the Bills select. And unfortunately, I have 3 of them right before the Bills select, as you point out, Jeremy, and one of them is Casey Concepcion. So I have then, how does the board look? Well, I'm not taking the 7th wide receiver at that point. That'd be Chris Bell. And I think the Bills absolutely have a need at interior defensive line. I've been hammering this drum for a few months now. And I just think the proof is in, or the clues are in, how they've operated or haven't operated. They have a new defensive coordinator. They've talked a lot about stopping the run, especially on early downs, force teams into, the Bills were not great on third down last year. You want to force teams into longer third downs, get the ball back to Josh Allen. They also have a new scheme. I am still wondering how that scheme, the players they have, fit with what they're doing up front. Sure, could Deion Walker play the nose? Yes. Is it the best fit for him? I don't know. I think he's better suited to be able to move around a little bit and not be on the nose. I think that's an area they have to concentrate on and get better at. I have been banging the drum for DJ Reader, as you know, for many years, but he's a guy that's been out there we've talked about that can fit that role. You know who Lance Zierlein compared Caden McDonald to? DJ Reader. I mean, like, this is the kind of player, to me, that fits right on this defense. He's not the only one there. I think Kristen Miller is an underrated name to keep an eye on, by the way. He's from Georgia. Kristen Miller. Peter Woods. Caleb Banks. Lee Hunter. These are pretty much the only top 5 guys at that position. But I think Miller could fit this role. But I think Caden McDonald, a first-team All-American, would exactly fit what the Bills need in this new defense. And you could just put him on the field. And no, he's going to be in a rotation. That's a D-line spot. But he's going to play. I don't believe edge rusher is going to play as much. And in my mock, like, there's most, the top edge rushers are gone. But even if there's a guy or two there you really like, I'm just not sure, as I've said before, with Greg Rousseau, now Bradley Chubb, Michael Hoyt coming back, like, the way they've talked about Javon Solomon, like, where and when is he going to play versus a guy like Caden McDonald? That's why I have the Bills taking Caden McDonald, defensive lineman, defensive tackle / nose guard.
Come join us tonight at Brightsmith.
We're at Brightsmith. The draft is on BE, and the Sabres are here. Go Sabres. Score a power play goal. Make a save. Good luck to whichever goalie's in net. See you tomorrow.